part on just kind of standard background. Hey everybody! Welcome to the Compi Cast.
Ooh, a happy Monday to you all.
Happy Monday.
We have a special guest we're gonna Compi to real quick.
Wait, what? No.
We will. Wait,
hold up.
Oh.
First we just Compi. It's Compi Cast.
First we Compi Cast. Because every cast we Compi.
Yeah.
And then some.
Oh, what is going on, Steam and Kez Tech?
Bop it.
Let us.
Felice Monday. I love it.
Today, we're going to be having a nice conversation with a special guest, a special dear and near worker in a very interesting setting in these current times.
Yes.
Regret Hat.
Regret Hat? Who could it be?
With Regret Hat.
Maybe.
Oh, hey, it's me, Brett. Just kidding.
It's Bill.
Oh, Bill Onage in the house.
No, it's not Willie, Steam. It's Bill.
No. I should probably have the stream chat up in front of me too, so I can see what's going on.
You get stream chat up and going, and we will go over a few announcements from our last time. So Fish Tank now has 5 shrimp in it.
Wow, we have new babies. 2
blue velvets, 2 sakura, which are kind of red and clear, and then 1 black and crystal. Which is like a cow-looking shrimp.
He's my favorite shrimp of all time. I picked him out, and he was the only black and white shrimp, and I've never seen a black and white shrimp before. And I named him Cow, obviously. What else would you name him, truthfully?
Right. We had the unfortunate passing of Ray. Ray has died, which is a spoiler alert, I guess, for...
Wow. F's in the chat for Ray, the fish.
But we will get some Ray clones in there so that we can fill out the tank again. So there's not just the 2 of the fish floating around.
I know they seem so like sad and alone. Just 2 fish in a tank. Horrible. F.
All right. So Bill.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Welcome. This is awesome. This is the first time we have you like not just being a cool mod, but actually just being part of our stream. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like I was super excited, but also like super nervous. It's like I've been their friend for like a year, but it's like there's this extra level that just kind of crept in where it's like, this is the first time you'll have conversation, like word to word rather than text to word or word to text or whatever. And I was like, I hope I don't screw this up. And then like 3 minutes to hanging this sucker up before the podcast even begins. I'm just freaking out. Where are my clips? Why don't I have them?
Right. Plus, like even when you stream and we're chatting, it's still text. And then when we stream, you're texting. It is interesting that voice to voice hasn't occurred.
Well, Twitch streaming, there'd be too many people talking at the same time, don't you think? If it was like everybody trying to chat.
Well, I'm just saying more in like a
producer kind of thing.
Yeah, like producer thing. We're definitely going to be moving into. I love that idea. I love that whole design.
Excellent.
But more just weird that we've known each other for a surprisingly interesting amount of time and just haven't communicated word to word. Is odd.
But it all started with the cat picture of us.
It did. It started with a cat picture, a little background on us. We saw a picture of 2 other Japan YouTubers, Rachel and June.
Oh, they're amazing.
Cats. And we were like, oh man, we can't wait until we're cool enough that people draw cat pictures of us. And then like, how long was it before a cat picture of us appeared?
I remember the tweet, and this is the only reason I remember how long it was. I said, I seem to remember like 3 months ago. Something, you know? And so that's where that kind of came from.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Just like it's been over a year. It's not a long amount of time, but it is, at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But here we are.
So what is your compi for the night?
Yes.
Compi is Arnie Palmer with whiskey.
Yeah. It's the big old compi to you. To count.
A little whiskey soda. I don't know what you're having.
I'm having gin and tonic.
Oh, classy.
Classy. Katie's favorite.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Pinky's up.
So we wanted to have you on a few reasons. If we botched the whole thing and this virtual guest didn't work, it wouldn't be hard feelings on anyone. So that worked out. But we didn't botch it.
We got it.
We're physically here chatting so far, so that's working out.
So far, so good.
And then it also turns out that you have a pretty unique job, especially given the current circumstances. So what you want to tell us what exactly your position is and kind of what were you hired in that position to do?
So I am considered what, the general term is just an environmental employee. But more specifically, I work in the infection prevention aspect. So there's two aspects to healthcare when somebody is sick or trying to prevent them to get sick. Number one is the person, and then number two is their environment. And so you have like, this is something I see a lot, families of at least like 4 to 6 people or more. They usually like share the same disease around for months at a time. It's because they get better, but their environment still has it. And that's like the one aspect where I come in for.
Gotcha.
That's great. Like, that's really cool, actually, because that happens to a lot of my friends who have younger kids. Like, they all just keep cycling just the same cold over and over again. I'm like, of course you are. Kids are just like snotting over everybody. You probably eat their boogers without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Well, now is that because I mean you use the term there, like the same cold over and over, or the same like virus over and over. Is it that the virus is able to mutate as it works through the family, or is there actually is it actually the same one that people can get because they don't have a full immunity to it?
Yeah, I mean, it only takes like 2 to 3 people before a virus can fully mutate to where it's just different enough that your system doesn't recognize it right away. You probably won't be sick as long or as hard during that second or third or sometimes 7th spell throughout the house. Yeah. But yeah, like that's the whole reason, like there's more aspects to the whole COVID thing, because people are like, oh, just let everyone get diseased. There's a 0.5% death rate. Why not we just let everyone get sick? And it's like, no, every time it gets passed, it mutates a little. So let's not do that.
Okay. Because yeah, I was in that camp of like, let's just all
just get sick.
Let's get everybody who's in the category of probably going to be okay to get it. That should be enough for herd immunity. We can kind of move on from there, like a chickenpox party, but it's a COVID party.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah. No, there's actually a terrible strain of COVID now. There's only happened to 3 people, but it actually is brain necrosis. It starts killing your frontal lobe. So this is like the first aspect we're seeing of a zombie outbreak, to be honest.
No.
But it's because it was shared enough and mutated enough to where it's killing people's brains.
I just don't understand. What? Like, but wait, it started as like a lung thing and now it's a brain thing? Like, it's too many things. How does it mutate that fast?
It's only a couple of people, but still.
So how?
But yeah.
So you're in charge of making sure that the places at the hospital specifically are clean, or are you going to people's houses and like kind of teaching people how to keep clean?
No, not necessarily going places. We take care of the general hospital itself, as well as like live-in buildings such as like nursing homes, elderly care and things like that. Some of us are specialized in different spaces of the hospital. I'm more of a general person. I'll take care of your inpatient rooms. I'll take care of surgical department. I'll take care of the ORs themselves. I'll take care of like the radiology department and x-rays and things like that. Whereas you'll have certain people who will go in just to do those jobs.
Wow.
So my shift's a variable shift. Like you look at my calendar and it shows my number of hours per pay period and then a V. That means I'm variable, so I can go anywhere.
Wow. So you're like the everyman of the hospital.
Making sure the disease doesn't like, hang out. So does it primarily come down to like sanitation and kind of
like washing your hands, keeping everything like wiped down, or is there more to it? Is it like, do you need a Lysol the air?
And like, are you taking a Lysol wipe to people's faces to make sure that they're not contracting anything?
Since I'm technically in a medical position, I'm not in direct care, so I don't touch a patient. I'll probably be in their room. Mm-hmm. I'll be, monkeying with like their air filters or something like that, or, making sure like the high touch things, that's like the easiest and most often thing I take care of, like doorknobs, light switches, handles of certain things, railings. So, it's not as complicated as it sounds, but it is a job that nobody really wants to do because
100%.
It's not necessarily dirty. It's just, it's a weird environment. It's kind of scary too. It's like, okay, we have a guy with tuberculosis. He's going to be in this room. We have to transport him to radiology to get an x-ray. And then he has to get, once we go through there, we have to do a surgical on him. And so a person like me would have to follow behind them as soon as they're charged out of that room. You gotta once over that room completely with like everything that you need to get rid of tuberculosis. Where you take somebody who's like, oh, anyone can do that job. Why don't I just do that job? Like you, would you go into a room somebody had tuberculosis in?
Okay,
that's a good point. Wow, you don't think about that. This is one of those things
where, you know, a lot of the time when people are talking about like, oh, we've got, you know, the people on the front lines are putting themselves in danger, whereas like this is kind of something you've been doing for a while, is literally putting yourself in this sort of, you know, danger. I'm sure you're taking preventative precautions and stuff, but at the same time, you're literally putting yourself into rooms. Have a good one. Bye, Jack.
Bye, Bojack.
Bye,
Bojack. Bon appetit.
So quick.
But yeah, you're actually getting yourself into these situations. So is the for someone like you who's already having to deal with this, is the threat of contracting COVID, for example, now changed your outlook on the job versus what you've always kind of been dealing with always having to kind of worry about like, well, I got to be safe because I'm always putting myself where these infectious diseases are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me and my direct coworkers, our procedures have not changed except for the mask policy. Well, if St. Paul has their way, Minnesota's capital, if they have their way, we're going to also have a goggle policy too. But anyways, the way we treat COVID versus any other disease is all the same precautions. It's considered a droplet precaution. So it comes from a person's fluids being mingled with your fluids and taken into your system that way. Where with the flu and with COVID respectively, it's face mask, a 3-layered face mask or an N95 face mask, gloves, obviously, and that's about it. I mean, the reason we put a gown on now is because it's, you know, as COVID gets passed from person to person to person over and over and it mutates, it is surviving longer on certain surfaces. So when it started, it was a 6-hour on stainless steel surface to where it's now 48 hours on the stainless steel surface.
Oh my gosh. That's horrifying, actually, because that is one of the reasons why I make Blaine like literally strip down when he gets home, because I'm like, it could be on your clothes or like the cardboard boxes. And like we're hearing, like you said, 48 hours. Like that's insane. People cough into their elbow or something and somehow it gets on an armchair. I don't know. Is that a possibility, actually?
Yeah, I mean, with it being a droplet precaution, it being on a surface, let's take Walmart, for example. If you're buying stuff at Walmart and you're grabbing stuff off the shelf, as long as you're not touching your eyeballs or your mouth, you're probably going to be fine, unless you're like super susceptible to that kind of stuff. Because it's literally a fluid thing. So it's got to get into your fluid things. A person breathing, a person sneezing, your shirt ruffling around is going to release a little bit of that, but a stationary surface isn't.
Ugh. All right. So cardboard boxes I should be afraid of. Just kidding.
Don't be scared. You're never going to order anything on Amazon again.
Yeah, I'll be like, by the way, we have to forage our own food and make our own products.
We have to bring our own Amazon shipments in.
Yep. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Were you originally hired on to this type of position, or were you doing medical stuff?
Yeah, like other types of things.
Oh, no, this is something I've been doing for on and off for a long time, probably since college. I've worked at like 3 different hospitals, but it's something that I don't mind depending on where I am in the hospital. I have quite a bit of freedom. Well, not these days, but like music and podcasts and whatever I can listen to, except for nowadays because there's the no cell phone policy. You got to leave it break room or locker because they don't want your personal items. I have to take my watch off. It's just a personal freedom thing. Like I get my 15-minute breaks like everyone else, and you know, it is what it is. I get paid almost as much as a nurse's assistant. So
wow, hey, that sounds like a good gig. in a way.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
yeah.
It's nothing like what I used to do. I used to be a Verizon salesman, and that was a good job, but it was stressful. I would not do that again.
Especially customer service. I'm assuming at Verizon you're like front facing with people.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's like I could not do customer service anymore. Katie, you doing direct service to people.
The only reason I can do it is because, yeah, right? Thank you, F's in the chat. But the only reason I can do it is because I'm really good at putting on a frontward face. And then once I'm in the back of the house, I'm like, table number 12, they just said this and this and this. I just get it all out. And then I go back and I'm like, hello.
It's just totally a facade, Katie. She's not.
Would you like to give me tips?
Yeah, right. Hi. But I was going to ask you, like, how do you mentally kind of pass the time? Because I'm sure this is kind of very routine for you and very kind of like, you're like, you get in your groove, but like, you can't listen to podcasts or you can't listen to audiobooks or anything like that. Like, what do you do?
I mean, there's certain ways you can, get around the mundane, because you'll probably hear some children behind me.
Just a couple.
If there's more than two, we're in trouble.
They multiply on their
own. You can turn on the TVs that are in rooms because they have music channels or movie channels. If I turn on something on AMC, odds are I've seen it, or at least heard all of it. So that's a good way to pass time. I have a few departments I take care of after hours where certain staff are still there, and they're pretty awesome to just be around, and they'll just talk and hang out. And it's kind of changed a little in the dynamic, but I think as of the 18th, they're releasing the restrictions on stuff like watches and phones. So we'll see how that goes.
So nice.
So we saw a photo a while back of like a pile of phones in your hand.
Yeah.
Can you explain why do you have phones? What is
okay?
And why do you now have more?
So just like any high intense job where you need to be on call at all times, you got to have your phone, obviously. Hospitals you'd think would have a lot of, income, people coming in, having whatever done, and, we get paid for it, obviously. However, most hospitals are doing this where they're taking all voluntary surgeries, the non-essential ones that you come in, you're like, I need this, but I don't probably need it for years. They've canceled all of that. And that's a huge part of income through insurance payouts. Now with that, since we're having less income, they got to start laying off people. And where do they start? The non-medical staff.
Right.
And so they laid off, the janitors, custodians, housekeepers.
Oh my gosh.
People in maintenance and everything like that.
People that kind of keep everything clean and rolling.
Yeah, the people who move the machine. So as people are being laid off, responsibilities that they had are not optional. So somebody has to do it. And these phones that I particularly have are designated for certain departments. Like somebody who's cleaning OR would get the OR phone. Somebody who's cleaning rehab gets the rehab phone, the inpatient and so on and so forth. So they asked.
So it's kind of like zones at a restaurant where like, hey, you get this zone, you get that zone.
Just keep relating it back to restaurants because that's all I understand. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like literally you're taking on 3-4 people's jobs. How many phones is it?
3.
Still, that's plenty.
Because they laid off 1 morning shift and they laid off 2 evening shifts, and I'm typically an evening person. Mm-hmm. And so rather than 3 people being on the evening, there's just 1.
Jeez Louise. Cool.
Yeah.
And now you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, yeah, cool. I'm glad I'm here.
All right. Kind of the on that then with like you're saying, hospitals are starting to like not do as many of the elective, or they're completely saying no to elective procedures. Are the things that you're cleaning up after changing, or are you pretty much still cleaning up after the tuberculosis and various types of things?
I mean, there's definitely a shift in responsibilities on top of what we already have. So say I'd be cleaning the emergency rooms.
Right.
On top of the emergency rooms, we'd also have a volunteer shift who comes in for like 2 to 4 hours a night and basically goes around and wipes every public surface. So those public surface details that would be on my shift normally would go to that person. So that's, the railings, the doorknobs and whatever. So it's specifically on one person. But that's kind of very offset by, I also have 2 more departments to take care of.
Right.
You gotta go, Liv.
Hey!
No.
Welcome to the podcast. They're like, please, can we
coming under the
join?
green screen.
Zombie children.
They're attacking.
They're multiplying and attacking. They're so cute. Sorry. Well, can we just switch really quickly because we don't have kids ourselves.
Okay.
So, and I have
That's
a
true.
few friends that do have kids and things like that, but like they're not very open with like what's the dynamic different being like a family during this whole coronavirus thing? Everyone has to be home. Like, are you guys having to like do your own kind of daycare type of things? Like, how has that changed for you?
And 2, on top of that, real quick, has it changed?
Yeah,
because
that's
of the
true.
fact that you're already putting yourself in a situation where you're cleaning diseases, you're taking care of infectious things.
Yeah.
Has anything really changed for you on that?
Well, for us, on paper, it really hasn't changed because my wife, Katie, does not have a job. She is full-time stay-at-home mom. That's what, she wanted to do. That's what,
I love
totally
that.
was cool with it too.
Dream job.
So,
Mwah. Love it.
yeah. So we had that conversation, do we have 2 people working or do we live in poverty? So we chose poverty instead. It's just the pursuit of what we want.
It's not poverty. It's like, people don't realize how much of a full-time job being a mom is. And it's like, would you rather work hard and have the money to pay for a babysitter and not see your kids as often, or just enjoy that time, putting it together?
There's always some kind of balance too.
Yeah.
Like my mom transitioned into work, but then she specifically got jobs where she could, she was at school.
Yeah, with you.
So when school was out, she could come home with us. So
Yay!
it was like, it didn't really take away from that, but I 100% I get that.
Well, yay. I'm so glad. That's so nice to have Katie there full time. But yeah.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
Go ahead. We've got our son, Liam. He's a year and a half, and our daughter, Olivia, who's 5.
I love it.
So quite the gap. We got they both, if they acted like me when I was their age, this would be so much easier. But they're both like, don't touch that. And then they're like, I know, I'm going to do it anyways. So.
Defy my father.
Right.
Well, and it's just been getting, more difficult because where it has changed is the dynamic of our children's social lives. They don't get to go to their activities. Liv doesn't get to go to school. We don't get to go to the playgrounds. They're driving Katie crazy all day at home.
Oh, yeah.
So their frustrations where, before it was little outbursts, now their frustrations is complete meltdown of a 16-year-old who did not get a car for her birthday.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. Like they can't go out to the park as much or do the same things, and it's hard to be that young and maybe really understand what's really ultimately happening. I'm sure they your 5-year-old probably has a concept of what's going on, but that's really scary actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We've got a since we're an apartment complex, we're kind of among a few larger buildings and stuff. Our backyard's basically a giant parking lot, and we got our kids one of those Power Wheels.
Yes.
Where, it drives. And so I didn't have one as a kid. Katie didn't have one as a kid. So we're like, let's get the children one of these. And so
I feel
pull them over to the parking lot.
That's a good amount of parenting is, I didn't have this. You're going to get this.
You lucky little child. I love that Steam Wolf said that he's going to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
It's perfect.
Oh, there you go.
Mom's got her style to have that aunt that can step in. That was my mom was the aunt that does the babysitting for my cousins. So
totally
100% on that. it's more so just like the family, having somebody close. It makes it a lot easier.
True that.
If you've got, that.
Awesome.
Oh man.
What's next?
So what's next?
What's next?
You act like there's things to get through. Next is another one of these. I'm out.
Your bright pink little cup. I love it so much. Slurpity-dee-kerpity.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I do wonder, since you've already, like you mentioned, you've got 3-layer or it's like droplet specific PPE. Has your access to PPE changed, or are you someone who that hasn't really seen much of that?
So with being a small town hospital, we kind of take care of our own. It hasn't always been that way, because it started off with our cotton masks going, and then it's like, we need cotton masks. I don't have any. Let's see what we can do about that too. We have several staff who volunteer their time sewing fabric masks for everyone. So we get permanent masks, like a set of 3 to take home and wash and cycle out as needed.
Wow, that's so nice, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any fabric masks myself. Oh, here, I'll put it right here. There we go. I don't have any fabric masks because we got really lucky when we went to Japan. We had like a 100-pack of surgical masks that we just purchased while we were there. So we've just been cycling through those. But like, to think that you have to, like, you guys don't just get those surgical masks. You don't get the N95 mask just like at the ready. Certain people have to deal with the fabric masks. And are they as effective? That's one of my questions too.
You can tell the effectiveness of a mask if you can blow and there's a candle in front of you. If the flame moves at all, it's not effective.
Wow,
that makes sense.
That's an easy test.
Perfect.
Candle test.
I'll test it tonight.
Yeah.
Do the fabric masks work, that test?
Yeah, the ones that I have in particular, I got kind of lucky too. I ordered a pack of 6 3-layered cotton ones for Halloween last year.
Oh.
I had a bear face, but it also came with like a bunch of others, like sharp teeth.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Different stuff and things like that. So I just had preparation. And I've been the funny guy where everyone's walking around with like paisley handkerchiefs sewed together, white plain stripes, polka dots. All of a sudden somebody says, "Hey, Bill," and I turn around and say, "Hey," and then like there's a smile like from here to here that's just teeth.
And then they're just kind of like, "Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting that."
Yep.
I know. I don't even know what my fabric would be. Probably like cat bug, cats, Grookey. Yeah. Do they even have those types like of Grookey fabric? There's got to be something out there.
Fabric? With Grookeys on it?
Yeah, with Grookeys on it.
I mean, probably.
Probably.
They have to. I mean,
someone's made it. A cat mask. Hey, there are cat neck gators.
Oh yeah,
I just saw those today. They look awesome.
Yeah, I forgot. There's all the new spring 2020 cap.
Woo!
We should have opened with that one. That should have been the opener.
That's okay.
Should have done an ad read to start this thing off. What kind of?
We'll cut it
do
down.
You love red pandas?
I love red pandas.
Do we. Everybody loves red pandas. And I just learned that there's only about like 2,500 left in the actual wild. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's like hardly anything.
There's more.
I'm surprised they're not gone.
And we're endangered people now. We're like endangered family people because like our fish that we have, there's more fish in our tank than there are in the wild.
Oh yeah, there.
That mountain minnow doesn't exist in the mountains of China anymore. It can't survive. So the only ones that exist are the ones in captivity. So.
You're welcome, minnows. Saving your behinds.
What is the best question someone has asked you in your personal life or your public life, whatever you refer to it, your civilian life, as you may want to call it,
civilian life,
as far as like asking you weird health advice? Because I feel like as soon as somebody finds out that you work even remotely close to a doctor or a hospital, they're like,
check out this rash,
this thing, or like, hey, did you know anything about blur?
The weirdest one I ever got was it was, "Hey, I know that you deal with like dirty surfaces and you clean and stuff. I've got this rash on my back I get whenever I sit in my easy chair. Could you come and like look at the chair and tell me if something's wrong with it, if I need to clean it? I was like, wear a shirt. Wear a shirt.
It's probably like a heat rash. We're gonna put a
Yeah. That's what I said. I'm like, it's probably just a heat rash. Just wear a shirt when you're sitting on it.
And you're like, oh, here's this perfect cream, but wow.
Oh, gross. Bill, does this look like a bunion to you? Yeah, exactly. Like the weird things.
Yeah.
Other ones are like, there's people like I've had like the jokes, haha, you come clean my house. But I've had sincere people who are like, I keep getting sick. Every September, I need you to come clean my house. And I'm like, no, you're having a seasonal cold.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I need you to come clean my house. What do you get paid per hour? And then I tell them, and they're like, I can't do that.
You're
that
like,
is
that
like
could
a
have been
not
a
bad
side
idea
gig.
though. Like to have like that. Like let's say you're not carrying around 4 phones in the hospital at a time. You're actually like have some time at home or away from the hospital to do something. You're like, oh yeah, I'll start a
side gig.
Like this is infectious disease level home cleaning. Like
especially after
you might see some
COVID's here.
terrifying things, but at the same time, house cleaners charge quite a pretty penny.
Oh yeah, housekeepers for like anywhere else make much more than I do.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Wow,
And
that's
you'd be
insane.
able to add in that whole like that infectious disease part of it, where it's like, yeah, I can at least while you're out of the house, I can say that room doesn't have an infectious disease in it.
Most likely, you never know. Just like knocking down the
Will
door.
you ever see disinfectant wipes back in the store? Yeah, probably.
We've got wipes at a lot of our stores. They just have like
We've been
2
really
minimums.
lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Or like or just hand sanitizer in general. But like
all of the so I got a weird one for you. Hold on.
show him.
We have started utilizing a hand sanitizer that is produced by a
Where are you going with this?
a tequila.
Sure.
Oh, tequila hand sanitizer.
Yeah, tequila hand sanitizer. What is this? Why is this? Is it just straight alcohol? Is it just straight ethanol, like designed to just burn whatever and anything?
I mean, I guess if nobody's buying tequila because it's terrible, you might as well turn it into something useful.
Just bad tequila in general. Oh,
yeah.
I did get some really bad tequila from Costco. Nobody get Costco tequila. It's not that great.
Not a fan of the Costco.
It's a rebottling of something very astringent. It burns my nose. Anyway, so maybe that's what they're making it out of.
Oh, maybe. They're using all the crap tequila to make it.
It's okay. We can.
It's people going nuts over these all natural hand sanitizers and thinking those will work, but they're not qualified to do that. It's like, oh, it's got aloe and salt. It's totally good. And somebody put like lavender and crystals in it. And so it's going to help.
So you're talking a homebrew sanitizer, not not just someone who's like bought a hand sanitizer with like a little bit of moisturizer in it because their hands get all cracky.
That just blows my mind. I would never think that aloe is like, it's clean now. It's not. It's just sticky and gross. Like nothing's
Well, you forgot
clean.
the salt.
And the salt. Oh,
The
yeah.
salt purifies.
Just scrubs it away. Yeah, it's like holy salt or whatever. They're like, yes, throw it over my shoulder, and they're like, and then I can clean the world.
Clean the world with my holy salt.
Then you get your bar of silver and you rub it on your forehead.
Right?
I'm sorry. You drink your silver and you know it.
Oh, that's right. Is that the guy with the commercials?
The blue guy.
The blue guy?
Well, there's probably a guy.
Like an old
there's probably a
person.
guy that like has a commercial for colloidal silver, but like colloidal silver, if you drink too much of it, will turn you blue. And there's a guy who is straight up blue from drinking colloidal silver.
He's probably the guy who made that song.
He's probably not scared of anything at this point.
You know that song? Everyone knows it.
Careful, you'll get us copywritten.
I know, right? I'm so on point.
There's so many words we can't say anymore. It turns out, like, as of like 5 days ago, you can't use the S word. Simp.
Oh.
It's like the new no-no word.
We all know. Mom Bear, say it.
Say it.
Say it. Simp.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Simp!
Yeah, no one can say that anymore.
We're gonna get banned.
Is that really a thing?
Mega simp.
Like YouTube and Twitch are like, no, you can't say that word anymore.
I mean, it just depends on what they put in there. Like, they all have like because they're companies, they can say these are the things we don't want said on our platform. Sure. So they're allowed to say, hey, these are the things we don't want you to say. And so if they have a list, then there's a list. But if it's just the word like offensive language or something like that, then they can kind of like make anything they want offensive language. So it's just kind of like up to whoever is making the rules at the time.
It's like you could literally make anything offensive. Like over time, you just like obviously the word boomer never used to be offensive, right? But now it's offensive because
Karen has become a huge offensive word lately.
Blows my mind. I feel so bad. What if Katie was the word? Yeah, I would be mortified.
You would have to own it. You would have to have like an alter, Karen, like a Hulk ego or something.
Get the bob.
Personal, like purposefully move those.
What'd I do?
You swooped your hair, but you.
It's basically like a helmet right now. I hairsprayed the crap out of it. Look at it. It's barely even moving.
Nice. So what is your social life like right now? Is it about the same, or has it changed? No. Because you look like you're so much busier because of the number of like phones and locations that you're now in charge of. You said you're variable. So are you seeing a lack of social ability, or are you still having me time?
No, although they have increased our workload significantly, they haven't increased our hours. So I'm still expected to get the same amount of work done in the same day in the same amount of hours, but add 2 more people's stuff.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love more work?
I am using the sippy cup.
Look at that sippy cup. Oh, go Blake using my sippy cup.
Germs.
Because we make ourselves now always have lidded cups.
Only lidded cups at the desk because of
one terrible instance. Basically,
one terrible coffee-based instance.
I had a coffee here,
and I just punched it. I punched
just like elbow punched. I think too. It
was a fist. It was a fist as I was coming across the table, like I wanted to hit it. Like this is why I do judo stuff, is because I'm not great with the punchy. I'm not a striker. If they had like an MMA stats for Blaine, it would be like grapple throw. Pretty good. Striking would just be 0. It would just be a 0 on the striking menu.
But I will say, it got on practically nothing. Our little soundboard, it got on there, but like
our enter key is a little sticky, but that's about it.
But literally, that was it. It was like the most promising of spills ever. Yes, and I believe all the no words from everybody else is hilarious.
I love the word policing now in the chat, or the anti-word policing that we have going on. I love it. What have you seen an increase? So I witnessed a similar thing happen with one of my friends who joined the military, that suddenly if he was ever in dress at all, which he tried not to be, but if he ever was, everybody comes up and says thank you. Do people who find out that you work at a hospital constantly say thank you? And has it changed since this whole situation?
For the people that know me personally, it has increased. Whereas, the hard work recognition is still reserved for the doctors and nurses and the CNAs and stuff like that. So, but if somebody sees me out and about with my scrubs, they, don't make the connection. It could literally be any job at the hospital, but they just assume I'm medical. And so then they say thank you, but I hardly ever go out with my scrubs.
Yeah, you don't want to come across as a scrub.
That was the same idea that my friend had, was like, you know what, if I'm out and about, some little kid sees me and it like thanks me, he's gonna like be gracious to him. But like at the time, he had literally just signed the papers and gotten back from tech school. So like he literally done nothing. He had literally just caused the government to pay for his like schooling and the training and all that. So he hadn't done anything worth thanking him for.
Thank you for going to school.
But you get all the people that are like, oh, thank you for your service. Like I didn't do anything yet.
Yeah, right. It's almost like imposter syndrome in a way. But like you really are doing a huge service to people, even though you're like, oh, I'm just cleaning stuff.
And realistically, especially now kind of talking to you and hearing what you've been doing, like you've been doing this crazy service where it's like if you had somebody with an infection and then they were getting treatment and then they go back into the room, like prior to your type of job, that person's going back into a room full of that disease.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you've got a possibility of reinfection, especially if they go into a surgery where they're coming out and their immune system is so much worse.
Oh, yeah. They're open. They're
Their body's trying to like fix themselves. Yeah. It's not going to be in a good way to. So it's one of those things where these are the thank yous that you've been owed the whole time.
Yeah. Right. Coming to the surface.
Oh, man. I know. I've had so many terrible interactions, although people see, me and my scrubs a few times out in public, and they're like, "Oh, thank you for taking care of sick people and giving them medicine or whatever you do." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not patient care." And then I just say I'm in infection prevention. They're like, "Oh, never mind." I've had that.
Never mind. Unthanked.
But honestly, to me, infection prevention sounds super cool, because it's like, you thought you were gonna get COVID? Not today. You're
thought you were going to get tuberculosis? What?
Not today.
What would you classify as the most dangerous disease you've had to clean up after?
And you knew about it? Or do they not tell you sometimes?
Yeah. No, I feel like they have to tell them, because they've got to at least tell them what to wear.
Okay, that's true.
We got to have precautions ahead of time so we can find that out. We're privileged to that information. We can go find a nurse and ask. But the most terrible one, I mean, tuberculosis is up there, but that's like a colonial age disease. We can fix that.
Nothing like an Ebola or
we have had one Ebola come through. We had a reserved Ebola cart, and it's like, this stays here. It doesn't go anywhere else. I was in there cleaning the room, and I was like, this is the Ebola cart. That one thing happened that one time. But
like,
that's terrifying. Is that the one where you just like liquefy your insides? Like,
is that true?
Yeah. There's a few like that, but most of them hit somewhere else. The most common one that we deal with, which isn't really life-threatening, but it kind of ruins your life for a while, is C. difficile, where you basically get deadly diarrhea, and it totally interrupts you, like your life for a while.
Like modern dysentery.
Yeah, basically.
That's horrible.
But it's like super contagious. This is like one of the diseases we could nearly wipe out if almost everybody washed their hands on a consistent basis.
Wow, but this
that is the thing that literally drives me nuts. Is it's like, oh, hey, everybody, wash your hands. Everybody does, and like for the first like couple of weeks, I saw people actually washing their hands as they left the men's room, and I was like, why is that a weird thing for me to witness? Is people washing their hands? I don't get it. Why is that so hard? Like it's one of the, it's got to be like prevention, where people like, because they don't encounter the diseases, because they don't encounter necessarily what they're passing around or what they're giving to people, they don't equate the fact that they failed to wash their hands with the fact that it still spreads. But it's like you just said, like if we just all wash our hands, this crazy diarrhea disease would not exist.
Yeah, because the thing with this disease, it's like it's been around forever, and literally it would go away if you just washed your hands after you go to the bathroom, because that's how it spreads. It's spores from your poop.
Oh my goodness!
I could literally.
So people they go to the bathroom, don't wash their hands, and all of a sudden they're getting it all over the place.
It's literally fecal spore.
That's
spread.
Yeah.
Why is this not the thing we're freaking out about? Close down the country until people wash their dang hands. I'm all about it now.
Yeah.
I wasn't for it now, but now I'm about it.
Here's what we do. Every like public restroom, we have a robot that locks the door, and it's like, if you didn't wash your hands, it's like, no.
You have to get your hands scanned before you leave a public restroom.
I mean, the technology's here. We just need to install it. I'm all for it.
SARS, Legionnaires, dysentery, N1H1.
Ooh. Because every year horrible viruses, because we have everywhere we freak out.
Oh, did you have any H1N1? That one was awful.
Oh, I had H1N1 once. That was terrible.
You personally?
Hallucinations. Yeah, it was. I had it in college. I was like a sophomore or junior. And I just remember sitting in my room, and like I looked up at the wardrobe, and it was just kind of wobbly, like it was made of Jell-O. And it freaked me out, so I started screaming at it.
I mean, that's literally something I would do too, because like, maybe you didn't know. Or how did you find out that you had it? Just from circumstances?
That was the year that it became a thing. Like it had always existed for a long time, but like that was the year it just became the disease that was just going around. And so I was like, oh, I get the flu every year. I'll probably just get the normal flu. I got the normal flu vaccine, got H1N1 somehow.
Yeah.
And it went around our college a little bit, but it hits you harder than any flu. It was, it's not the worst disease I've ever had, but oh my gosh, I was, the school didn't do a good job taking care of us in the dorms. They quarantined us and didn't really feed us or give us water.
What?
Yeah.
That's not right.
That seems, yeah.
That's
you didn't wash your hands after touching those veggies. That's what Steam thinks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
All those veggies. Man.
Yeah. It's just the same recovery as the flu, bed rest and drink plenty of fluids. It's just, it hurts.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I didn't know you got hallucinations from H1N1. That's crazy.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. Right?
It's the fever mixed with dehydration.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it's almost like a...
that makes sense. Oh.
Oh, what is it called? Like a mirage. Like when you're in the desert, you're hot, you're dehydrated, and you start seeing things. Like it kind of blends into that. I feel like I've been there. I've
without H1N1.
I've had dehydration a few times where I've had to go like on a drip. So it's
oh my gosh, I remember that. That was bad.
I'm not great when it comes to retaining my liquids, so I have a lot of lemon in my waters a lot of the time.
Good job. Way to hydrate.
Speaking of water, if you have somebody with COVID who sneezes into your mouth, if you just keep drinking water, it'll flush it out because you cannot get COVID in your stomach. Your stomach will kill it.
Oh, it's not a mucus membrane. That makes sense.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, great. So
that's why food orders are fine.
Yep. Food orders, drink orders. If you have a water bottle that has a closing top that isn't exposed, you just drink that routinely throughout the day, which you probably should do anyways.
Get up into your sinuses or something like that. Yeah. Someone sneezed in my mouth. I need to test it.
Steam will find them for you. Yeah. No scurvy for you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm always running that lemon just because it's such a... I actually found out because this really old guy at the church we grew up in was having issues absorbing water after a couple surgeries that he had. And they gave him these weird lemon pills. And I was like, huh. And so I started just adding lemon, and something about the acidity of the water makes it easier for your body to like osmosis or whatever.
Like electrolytes, kind of?
Well, it's not electrolyte replacement though, because it's not the electrolytes that I'm losing. It's literally just needing the water to permeate the membrane better. But I got all kinds of weird things. I got like high bilirubin and stuff, so like I'm a goofball.
That's his excuse. He's been telling me for years about why he farts so much. Like, it's always the joke. Like the husband always is like, like farting all the time. No, that's like my reality.
It's true.
That's the truth. Like literally, I can't even tell you. Like how many times a day? I don't even know.
I mean,
it's uncountable.
The normal amount of times. It's not like I fart more than someone else. It just smells bad.
It doesn't smell as bad.
It smells bad.
It doesn't smell as bad because you're used to it.
Maybe that's the truth. Yeah, my like nose is like of Blaine fart mixed with wet grass. Lovely.
Gross.
But yeah, it's literally your bilirubin count, which I don't really know what that means, honestly.
Bilirubin are generated when your body is breaking down blood and then like making more blood, so it has something to do with like my metabolism or something like that. I always forget.
It's also a thing with like jaundice.
Oh yeah, I was a yellow baby.
Oh yeah, you did have.
I was a yellow baby. So I was a jaundice baby.
Wow. Yeah. Steam Wolf says fart battle.
Dance monkey. Oh, we forgot to turn that off.
I did turn it off. I'm not sure why it didn't save. Sorry, Galaxora. We'll do a dance monkey next time.
Yeah.
Or here, everybody. Here, no, let's do it. Let's do it. Everybody, dance.
We can't stand up though because our dance monkey camera is over. It's so that y'all can see us right now.
Okay.
Oh man, he's spiking the.
Well. Bill has to dance too. Sorry, I didn't know what that was. It's not your fault. It's my fault for not disabling it. I thought I did earlier. You watched me do it too.
I didn't watch you do anything.
I was tempted to do that.
They still got it.
Everybody dance.
How did you hack our system?
Oh man,
I think I could still do that. I'm not gonna, but
Yeah, but
Yeah, I can.
they're not a mod. I don't get it.
How dare
I'll just kick them from the chat. Hold on. No, I won't.
everybody off the chat. Bill's got backwards
No
cap on
mistake.
now, so it's like Ash Ketchum, like serious mode.
I am super warm. I'm going to take this bed.
I don't know how you're wearing a
It's
hoodie.
like the greatest hat ever, but it's retaining all the heat. And I can see my luscious blonde,
Natural blonde, luscious hair. Excellent.
natural.
Just press the shiny button.
Yes, pressing all the shiny.
So we
buttons.
asked Instagram some questions. We didn't specify what you do, so because we didn't know until we started this interview.
Well, that's okay. I think most of them still apply.
Yeah,
They really do.
So kind of along the lines like we were talking about, where you're like walking around in your scrubs. We got Hoppa Papa 7 wondering, what do we say to people on the front lines? Thank you doesn't seem to be enough. So do you feel like thank you is enough, or do you what
Or is
are
it
your thoughts? What do you
annoying
want? What do you want or not want people to say to you?
If you just change your wording a bit, it makes a whole heap of difference. You can literally say, thank you for doing what most people can't do. Thank you for, just being at your job. It doesn't have to be like super elaborate.
Just add
It's
that.
just
bit.
like, just being more specific about what you're thankful for, rather than, being like, thank you. It's like, thank you for X, or thank you for Y. When I go to Walmart and I get whatever I get and I'm checking out, and I say to the cashier, thank you for being here.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
that
nice.
easy.
I love that.
That was great.
It's kind of like make it a little bit more personal, like, and more
Right.
specific, because anyone can just say thank you. Like, like a little kid just be like, yeah, thanks. You're like, say please and thank you, thanks.
Yeah.
But then you actually be like, you're actually showing your gratitude when you're being more specific. Like, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. Or thank you for wiping down that thing. Or thank you for putting your life on the line just to, be my cashier at the grocery store.
Well, and
No.
it's not even just like putting your life on the line, like just the fact that you're thanking someone for that, like would be a lot. Mom Mayer's right. Like specifics matter. Like when you're saying thanks, like when you're thanking for your food, you're like, thanks for the food, thanks for the service, thanks for bringing your food out. You're being specific about what you're thanking
grateful
someone for. It means a lot more than if you just were to say like, oh, thank you for being you. Thank you for breathing.
Or even thank you for your service.
I mean, if you're a server, you can be thankful with money.
Yeah, right.
Somebody's like, thank you for making sure we don't get sick. Here's a Subway gift card. That would be dope.
Right.
Literally, we call those like verbal tips. Like sometimes it's like the people in the restaurants who are always like the most like grateful verbally, which is too bad. They're like very generously grateful. Like, thank you so much for like great service today. We had a great time. But then they'll like tip you, like the minimum or less, way less.
Talkers,
It's
not
the verbal
thankers.
tippers. Yeah. But and that's fine.
You were the
I understand.
best server we ever had. Roxy, that's it.
D-Rox knows. We've lived this. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah. One thing a lot of people are doing are just writing thank you cards and just sending them to the manager of specific places. Just the manager of stores or something. And people really appreciate that. They got hung up everywhere. And we love those.
Yeah. Again, that's that personal, like you took time to like write this letter, hand or whatever, or draw.
Especially when I could type something up. Like how much more does it mean that I took time to use my hands to write a thing and then mail that thing,
Yeah, mail. Who uses that? Just kidding.
Talking about it annoys me. So if I were to do that for you and it said thank you or happy birthday, that should speak volumes for how much it means.
Just a side note, Blaine does not enjoy giving or receiving cards.
Oh, that's like
cards.
his anti-love language.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Anti-love language.
That's his hate language.
So annoyed. It's a combination of things. I know it's a combination of things.
Well, and I understand part of it too. It costs too much money.
So my mother was in her youth a general manager of a Hallmark store.
Ooh.
And so she was all about holidays. She was all about sending cards. There was
Very
always
sentimental.
a card. Growing up, we would always go to the Hallmark store, and every week or month or whatever the period was, would buy people's birthday cards. We would get people like
thinking of you.
Mother's Day cards, the sympathy cards, congratulatory card, all of these cards. She would buy cards. Sometimes there would be like 10 cards at our house. She would write in and then give to you as a 7-year-old, and she'd be like, sign your name. And I would have to sign my name on these cards.
Sure,
and like signing through all of these cards. And sometimes she's like, oh, you gotta, write something. This is for Aunt Judy. Write something. She would get like, there'd be a name, and I'd have to like specify who I was like thankful to or congratulating her. And like as a kid, you're like, I don't know this person. I don't want to write a thing if I don't know this person. And then now as an adult, that folded piece of paper costs like $5.
It does.
I'll just give you $5. I don't need to write a card.
It's like
it annoys me so much.
Give him like a $5 like bill, but with a sticky note that says "Happy Birthday." And,
yeah,
like,
sticky note. That's like less than a penny.
Happy birthday, love blank. Here's $5.
Now I'll grant you, my uncle hand wrote cards. He would hand draw cards. He would make the cards himself, and then my other uncle did it too. They're both like writers, and they would make cards. It was just a piece of paper, and it was like, okay, cool. That's like part of the gift. You're like including your sentiment into that, but the act of going and buying a card and sending a card, I only do for my mother. Because of the fact that true. I know it means a lot to her.
That's true.
I signed that card. I don't pick that card out.
Yeah. It's just another way for people to make money. But if you like handmade a card, like that took you so much time to do.
Yeah.
Maybe not if it's really cruddy and it's just like words like happy birthday. But like if you drew something and took the time.
Yes, I did get red from that rant.
Well, also I have the saturation up a little bit, maybe too high.
Katie and blank, yes. Yes.
Katie and blank.
Katie and blank.
That is how we do. That is how we do cards because they just.
Oh my gosh!
I will deliberate. I will get so weird and ask 1,000 people about something that I know you want. Like my dad wanted a.
Like
he didn't want. My dad loves animals in like a weird way. Like he's got this weird, unique type of duck that comes and visits his house that he feeds like by hand. This wild duck comes to his deck and eats practically from his hand.
It's so cute, but kind of
strange. It is an adorable duck. It is the weirdest looking purple duck that I've ever seen. I'm colorblind. Don't judge me.
Maybe she's kind of cool.
Geese like and blue. He's got like marmot. Like he's got a new creature that he doesn't know what it is. And I was like, let's get him a trail cam.
Is he Dr. Doolittle?
He might be a little Doolittle-y because like these creatures just come to his door. But I was like, you know what? Someone who has a lot of creatures in their property needs is a trail cam.
Yeah.
I deliberated over what specifically to get so that I would make sure that he got something that was like right.
And a good fit.
I will be danged to heck if I spend 1 second looking for a dang folded piece of paper to go with his trail cam.
He did not get a card for his birthday.
No,
you're right.
No, he didn't.
It was literally pulling teeth.
He also wouldn't care if he got it, dude.
You're like, thanks, and like throw it away. Like, cool.
Yeah.
But it was literally pulling teeth. We were like at Safeway picking cards for like grandmas and mothers and stuff. He's just like looking through these cards. Like, I don't care. Just like, pick one. And I'm like, I have to pick the cards. But you picked a nice one.
Blaine needs a Snickers.
Yeah, you do need some. Blaine looks a bit
Except
sunburned.
This is me. The Snickers would just give me more energy. Right on it.
No, I'm just used to just stoic Blaine, and all of a sudden he's passionate.
Yeah, no, we'll use a little bit of colored correction, so I look a little insane. Here we go.
Look a little bit more normal.
A little more normal. There we go.
It's good. Do you make your kids sign cards, Bill?
No, I thought I would, because
No.
when I started dating Katie, and it wasn't really established until we were married, I just kept everything. Like,
Aw.
I felt either, guilty about throwing something away, or, I liked people giving me things. I'm the absolute reverse of Blaine. If you give me something, I'll probably keep it forever.
Aw, that's kind of sweet.
But Katie had to fix me in that. Otherwise, we'd have like a million cards in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
So
how long do you keep the cards on the mantle, Mom? How long? How long are they supposed to just sit there while you stare at them? And remember the fact that somebody will.
I will keep the cards on our piano like mantle for maybe a year, and then I'll get rid of
long. You're the same person that gets annoyed by clutter, and the card just sit there.
But they're so nice to send them to us. Like, I just feel so like I owe it to them to appreciate it a little bit longer. And then 30 seconds, you look at it, you appreciate it, thank you. And then, you set it there and you look at it every so often and you're just appreciative. Thank you for, wow, you are so hot.
I am warm.
He looks hot. Get a rag, wipe him off.
It's also warm in here.
It's true, it is hot in here. Yeah, Mom, I learned to let it go a little sooner. Yeah, I won't
give it a week.
Long. But that's nice of you. I think it's sentimental that you keep those things. Like, you're just appreciative of what people have given you,
I mean, not so much anymore. I mean, I'll keep a few things here and there, just if it was like something very specific. I'll still have the kids, get Katie something for Mother's Day, because she likes cards. She doesn't want to keep them forever like I would.
Right.
Yeah. Or me.
Oh, man.
Well, wow.
Sorry,
now you made me hot. Yeah, I think you like liquefied your brain for half a moment. Just like rage brain.
I don't know. I'm kind of borderline hoarder almost. I really like collecting stuff. Like, my video game collection's full of like, the games, the consoles are with, and like all the action figures associated with it. And I'm like, man, I'm a hoarder.
Yeah.
Like, it spills out into the rest of the house.
Honestly, we have something similar.
Yeah,
too.
I mean,
So
I have an entire dresser full of like old video games. It's not about like collecting or hoarding. I feel like there's a different level though when it's just like some random family member. And actually, my mom is literally going through this right now, where she's literally having to clear out these keepsake totes that she's had for years. And so she's taking pictures of them to kind of digitize some that are a little more unique. Like, oh, this person lived during literal depression, like not just like, oh, they were a child of someone who lived through the depression where they like keep everything, but also like they were there. They wrote this letter to somebody while they were in it. That's kind of unique. That's a
cool thing to keep.
Yeah,
I mean, like a family heirloom of sorts.
There's literally my father's side of the family has been in this area long enough that there's photos of us in the family at the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle here, and so those things are like kind of unique and cool. So I get keeping things that have kind of value beyond. But when you get a card that says like there's a bunny on it, and you open it up and it says
Happy Easter.
You make my heart thump, and it's like printed on by the company.
That's cute.
And then just signed by somebody. Get that
now
out.
That's at least 9 months on the mantle, Blaine.
No.
Right? They paid $5 for that card.
Like, this is a hill that I will die on, but I won't die on it. I won't die on this hill because I'm a victor and I'm a winner. And I win this battle.
Slow clap. Okay.
No, it gets terrible when children are involved, because my daughter will bring up something that she had like 2 years ago. Like, we'll have a card that probably sang a song like 2 years or 3 years later. She's like, remember that card? Where did that card go? And then we're like, well, we threw it away. And she starts crying. It's the same with like toys she grew out of that we donated or something. She's like, where's that little doll that I had that did the thing with the magnets in the face? I'm like, it's not here anymore. We donated it. Yeah. But I want it.
You didn't play with it for 4 years. Yeah.
That was special doll.
I know. Well, I just have to give a big shout out to my mom, because like she would keep all of our stuffed animals like everything in bags. We have like tons of stuff in our basement right now, like Pokemon cards and like I don't even know, like all the Lion King memorabilia you could ever ask for. It's just hoarded in our basement. So it's like, at what point do we keep that? I don't know. Is it worth something? Maybe I should sell it.
You keep it until you no longer have sentimental value for it and it's no longer worth something.
Okay.
That's why we've got a dresser full of video games.
Could be worth something.
And some random stuffed animals left. Like I have a Peter Cottontail from the original Peter Cottontail.
Aww.
You know, they just made a Peter Cottontail movie.
Wow.
That stuffed animal might be worth something.
Wow.
Heck of a lot more than your folded piece of paper with your signature on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait a moment. Oh, yeah. The gold-plated Pokemon cards from Burger King.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have
Alex
those.
Orono.
Those are something I thought I'd have forever.
I have the original Power Rangers. No.
Oh, I thought there were some here behind us.
They're in the dresser. I can grab them if you want to show them off.
No,
but I have the
totally
original
fine.
Power Rangers McDonald's toys.
Whoa, McDonald's toys.
I saved up.
Totally joking.
They're not worth, like, if I have a heart attack, those things are actually worth like $100.
My life insurance for you. Good to know.
Yeah. $100. Maybe more.
$100.
$100. I don't know because nobody has a full set that they're selling. I have a full set in the closet.
Wow. There you go.
Oh man.
Individually, they're worth like $20.
So, Bill, how long are you going to keep stuff? How long is like your guys' threshold for keeping things? Obviously, it depends on what it is, like pictures and stuff. But yeah.
I mean, usually it depends on like what's happening at the given moment. So like last time we moved, it's like, okay, Bill, you've got to sacrifice some of your stuff. You have too much stuff. Like as a techie, I got boxes just full of adapters and pieces of cable that I haven't used in like 2 years. And so Katie's like, okay, you've got to like weed some of this out. So I threw away like 1 or 2 things out of the 90,000. And then like 2 years later now, I'm like, oh, I wish I had that adapter, but
right.
I know it's kind of unfortunate. It's like sometimes you'll get rid of the thing. You need it just that one time.
And you'll keep the adapter and then you can't find it when you need it.
Yeah.
I now have 4 of these 1/4-inch patches to one 3.5 millimeter. Growing up, I had a billion of these stupid things, and I thought I kept most of them, but I had to order more because I couldn't find them anywhere.
So maybe it pays off to hoard stuff. Is that the moral of the day?
It pays off to hoard things.
I mean, my grandmother. Sorry, Grandma. She's a hoarder. She's got just boxes. You know, she's like, I want to give these to people, and she never gives them away. Like, it's not like the hoarders, you know, from HBO or whatever. But you know, she's just got her house is just stuffed full of boxes.
Oh my goodness!
And then you've got my mom, who's like your mom, Katie, who's just got all my toys from when I was young.
Sorry, Mom.
And so it's like every once in a while I'll threaten Katie. I'm like, I can't wait till we have a house of our own and we have more space for me to hoard in.
Like, yay! More stuff.
No, but I've become better at getting rid of things lately. I think with this next move, I'm gonna get rid of some more stuff.
Oh yeah.
But then I'll regret it later because I'll be like, oh, where's that shirt that I liked and I had for like 7 years? Oh, it's gone.
I know. I kind of have that with like our like costume closet stuff. Like randomly we'll have events or be like, oh, where's that pirate hook I could have used for this one time?
Yeah.
Why didn't I keep that pirate hook?
We literally have had to limit down to 2 tote boxes for
like costume
cosplay stuff, cosplay and costume stuff. So
because otherwise it just gets out of hand.
Yeah,
and you only wear it a couple times. You know,
gotta set limitations on the stuff you keep, or the amount of stuff you keep, or the type of things you keep. There's got to be some kind of limitation there because otherwise you will end up as a hoarder. Even if it's just your basement that's like packed and filled, you're still going to be a hoarder of some kind if you don't have some kind of like reason or method for keeping stuff.
Yeah, like my mom always says, less is more. Literally, we say that all the time at our house.
Yeah.
I have a shirt from kindergarten, says Steve, and it's my first knitting rag. Oh, that's so sweet. See, like I think my mom has like one of our first like baby clothing items ever, you know, and like that's kind of sweet. And if you give it to your kid and you pass it down,
you know, it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's not like it's really, you know, throwing the house into disarray because you kept one set of baby booties and a whatever you call a baby unitard.
Unitard.
What do you call a baby unitard?
One piece? I don't know.
Onesie.
Oh, onesie.
Onesie. So I think the moral of the story is if it is very significant and it means a lot to you, you should keep it.
Yep.
Or generational, you should keep it.
Yep.
If it, I don't know, what else?
Has actual monetary value.
Actual monetary value. Or if it's something that you'll be using more frequently, you should keep it.
Yeah. Monetary value could include the fact that I would have to buy a new one to replace it.
Ow.
Oh my god, yes.
Hurt my headphones.
So that was one Instagram question.
So let's go to the next Instagram question. This is from Laura or Mom Mayor here in the chat, actually. Are you more comfortable taking care of patients now that, or not taking care of patients, but being in patient rooms now that we're 3 months into the coronavirus? Do you feel more at ease, or have you felt more cautious about it?
Or has your, on top of that, has your cautious level actually changed at all?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that your specific job has always been around dealing with this sort of thing, have you felt a change
of like
in your overall preparedness or anxiety or anything like that?
I mean, I've always had social anxiety with dealing with strangers. So it's like, hi, I'm going to come into your room real quick and just, you know, make sure you're not diseasing up the place. But I think nothing really has changed with like my confidence going into a patient room, just because it's overshadowed by the fact that I'm a millennial talking to an adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. Okay.
Because usually they're older than me, like by a lot.
Oh, sure. Yeah, like older patients. That makes sense.
That's pretty hilarious, actually.
Mama Bill actually had a mom's question of the night.
Okay. We get to have a mom's question of the night with our first ever guest.
So for everyone and everybody, what do you have in your possession that you've owned the longest?
The longest.
It's actually a hard thing to think about. Myself.
Besides yourself?
My skin.
Your skin. This is my skin. I never leave the house without it.
If we go cell by cell, though, you're an older person from the time you were born.
Yeah, every 7 years.
Every 7 years? Is that the replacement?
That's the average cycle.
Just kidding. I lied.
Wow.
Then. My bad.
I thought that was just lungs that swapped out that quickly. Lungs and liver. I thought.
Full cellular regeneration. So last time you made out with that woman that you want to forget, your body won't forget her for like 7 years.
Wow.
If you got her.
Disgusting.
Wow.
Let's see.
The house you grew up in.
Steam Wolf says, my blanket, I've had it since birth. Oh, that's so sweet.
Aww.
I don't know if I have my baby blanket. Maybe my mom could tell me.
Mom Air
could tell me.
Probably has the same answer you do.
Yeah, the house I grew up in. Yeah. Which is crazy
the house girls.
Because that's the house that I grew up in also.
Right.
Multi-generational household.
It's a super generational house.
Steam has 21 empty Ramune bottles.
That's the most thing he's owned. Aw, Galaxor says, my stuffed dog Skippy. Aww.
What in the world do I own?
Yeah, what do you own?
What do I have?
Nothing. Just kidding. You any like binkies or like babas?
I don't have any of that. That's all my mom has. So
oh, wouldn't you say that your mom's stuff is your stuff?
Not yet.
It's like by proxy in your possession.
No way.
No? Okay. Maybe, I don't know. Me. I'm just kidding. That's not true.
What?
Katie just knows she is too embarrassed to say.
I'll come back on that one.
I finally remembered what mine was.
Oh, what's yours? What's yours?
For a while, I thought it was this lighter that my brother used to have, and so I took it when he moved away. It's this little dragon butane lighter, but that's not it. Nope. It's actually my stuffed chipmunk. I didn't have a teddy bear. I had a teddy chipmunk, and I had that since I was like 1.5 or 2.
Oh, so sweet. Oh, I love that. I have two stuffed animals that are like really near and dear to me. One was a beaver named Beavis. Hilarious.
Beavis the beaver.
But like, I got him when I was like 3 or something. The Costco carts were like sharp, and I hit my head on a Costco cart. And then the fireman had to come help me or something. Like give you
or
stitches.
Something you don't remember.
I wasn't there. I mean, I was there, but I don't remember. I was like 3. Yeah, Beavis. And then the second one is Mopsy, similar to Galaxora. I had a stuffed dog too named Mopsy. He was a white dog and he looked like a mop. I'm so creative with names. Beavis and Mopsy.
My chipmunk was Chicky, so
Oh, cute.
I might have it'll either be Peter Cottontail.
Oh, there.
I had
Dumbo.
Do I still have Dumbo though?
You've got to have your Dumbo. I couldn't tell you. Sorry.
Okay, it'll either be Dumbo, Peter Cottontail, or a Lamb Chop doll.
I think,
and it'll either be in my possession or my mother's possession. But the Lamb Chop doll I've had since Lamb Chop was on TV.
Oh, yeah.
I
Old
loved the
school.
puppet. The Peter Cottontail was similar to a kid.
And Dumbo.
Stuffed animal that I had. Dumbo, a little bit more unique of a story.
Dumbo's cute.
I had I really love pacifiers. They were like I always had like a pacifier growing up. And
Gross.
like well past the age that you should have a pacifier. And then one of my pacifiers got eaten by my my cousin's dog. What's the dog's name?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
it's so
Mopsy.
sad.
Just kidding.
Namu?
But regardless, the dog ate your
The dog ate my pacifier, but I still wanted the pacifier.
gross.
And Namu, that was it. Namu. And my mom went and for years, like up until like 4 years ago, I thought this was a true story. She took me to the Disney store at the mall and said, hey, we can turn in your pacifier and you can get a stuffed animal. And I was like, and so like I picked out a stuffed animal. I picked out a Dumbo and she traded my pacifier for the Dumbo.
Smart mom.
And I was like, all right, cool. I've got a Dumbo now. It's in my pacifier. It had like a silly nose, so I would still suck on the nose, but like it kind of like weaned me off of pacifiers. And
Your poor mother having to clean that stuffed animal.
4 years ago, maybe a few more, but it was like really, really recent in my adulthood. I found out this is not a thing. Yeah, she tricked me. She went in and she bought the stuffed animal and then said, oh, now give him your binky, and like motioned to the person like, please throw this away, and threw away my binky as though it were paying for my Dumbo.
Yes, that's big win for moms everywhere. It's a big win for moms
And
everywhere. That's awesome.
Literally, I was like, somebody was dealing with like, oh, my kid's got a pacifier or something. I was like, oh, you should take it to Disney Store. And my mom was like, no, that's not a thing. And I was like, Mom, that's a thing. I turned in my pacifier for a Dumbo.
You
And
lied
she was like,
to me.
no.
Is this the one?
What one?
You lied to me! You lied to me!
They can't hear that. They can't hear that. So we went deep voiced on
I
that.
get it.
Mom Mary said Galaxora traded in her thumb for a Barbie car. How do you trade in your thumb?
Yeah, it literally, I thought.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
I thought that they actually had like I was like, oh, that's cool. And then even growing up, I was like, maybe if it's like you get $5 off a stuffed animal, and so I, like whatever,
Yeah,
that
like
makes sense.
discount.
Like, it's a kid related store. Yeah,
Wow.
that makes sense in my brain.
She pulled you good.
Oh,
She pulled you good.
oh man.
Anyway, I don't trust anybody ever now.
Oh.
So
It's his mom. He doesn't trust his mom.
Mother issues. Steam says I traded our sour pouches for boba. Wow. What a deal. Man, so you guys have you had to do anything like that for your kids, Bill? Doing like a trade-in thing? Be like, oh, nope, no more blankie. Now you get, I don't know, like a cool pair of
Not
pants.
really. I mean, I'm kind of a blunt person, and my children are going to be probably blunt people. I'm like, if you don't play with this, if you don't get rid of it, I'm not getting you something else. So we got the agreement. If you want a new toy, you got to donate an old toy. Doesn't always work because I'm a sucker and wrapped around your finger, so I'll buy her something anyways.
Those tiny fingers, tiny sticky fingers.
It's cute little kitties. Yeah, I can imagine, like I said, well, obviously we're not parents, but like I can imagine having that soft spot almost, because like you know, when you're a kid, you're like, it would mean the world to you to have that thing, but you want to make sure that they appreciate it too. So like finding that balance, what do you do? There you go, trade it in. I think it's really smart.
Yeah, trading, that's a good one. All right, another one from Instagram. This one's from Mama No No.
Should we do this one? Another one.
Okay. Another one.
Mama No No. This is Mom's secret alt account. This is
Mama No No. Lives life. What are the best ways we can support our frontline hospital workers? So is there anything that you're aware of that would actually support you and the other hospital workers that are facing diseases every day?
Beer. Oh no, wait.
Perfect.
Actually, just go to the bakery and get dozens of donuts at a time and give them to the different departments in the hospital, or even, ask people, how can I appreciate you? With my hospital, there was a youth group that came in and gave all the night staff donuts and cheese cracker and meat tray. That was super cool.
Yeah, right. Like,
kind of like sense.
That way you don't have to worry about your meal.
Think about how happy you'd be if you showed up to work and there was a donut for you.
I would be low key mad, but I'd be really happy about it. I'd be like, "Why don't you give me a donut?"
Yeah.
But I love.
No, we have Muffin Day. There's this guy who's really appreciative too. He comes into rehab for something, physical rehab. Sure. But he's so appreciative to the whole staff. He gives just like fresh muffins from the bakery like once a month. It's super cool.
That's so great. Oh, fresh baked goods. Because only a donut you can only do so much with. Sometimes you're like, all right.
But like a muffin, that'll get you through like 5 hours.
I don't know. This is hardier. What if he gives you like flax muffins? You don't even know.
Everybody takes the same 1 hour break at the same time.
Yeah, they're like, no, there's laxative flax muffins. Dang it.
Laxative.
Laxative. That's a good brand muffin name. We should do
Flaxative muffins.
Oh, genius. I'm on it.
Sell them to the elderly. They need it.
Oh, Alex Sora says, you deserve a $300 charcuterie board, Bill. I love the specific charcuterie, like meat, cheese,
like thin meats and all.
Oh, okay.
All those kinds of like
goods.
The actual word for what it is. Okay.
But like a really good one. You got like prosciutto on there. You got your salami. You've got your Genoa salami. You've got your what else? Your cornichons. Pickles. The tiny little baby pickles that are so silly that are amazing. Cocktail onions. Bill, you're gonna rain in all this good stuff.
I do like a good Westphalian prosciutto. That's a German style prosciutto, not just the Italian prosciutto that you normally see.
Everyone knows
Forest
that.
of Westphalia, they make this really tiny prosciutto that's very small and dark, and it's freaking delicious. It's so
we just ate, but we don't eat. Oh, now I want cheese.
Now you want cheese?
Now I want cheese.
You always want cheese.
Yeah, that's true.
Cheese.
Never a bad time.
We're always out of cheese because we get like cheese sticks or something, and our children just crave it. It's like,
oh yeah.
Liam hardly speaks. He's like 1.5. That's one of his words. He's like, cheese.
Oh my gosh,
cheese.
That's so cute.
Gives you like
Blaine, he does that.
That's the please hand. I don't know why, but like every baby that I know recently does this hand. Peace.
Give it to me.
Yeah, my niece.
Oh, he says please like this. He goes, please.
Oh, that's perfect. That's in sign language too.
Oh,
yeah.
Please.
Yep.
Oh, I love that more and more.
No, both
so
my
great.
niece and nephew will just kind of do this.
And not even say anything. Just be like,
Peace. Well, they'll say like the thing. Ham.
cheese.
Quit.
Great.
It's like
What if like adults just like acted like that.
We just said the noun we wanted and said, give it.
Yeah.
Right. Mine.
Money.
That's
Yeah.
mine.
Money.
Mine. Money.
Money.
You go to your boss. It's payday. Money.
Money. Now. More money.
Advance.
Yeah, right?
Raise.
Yes. But somehow they like can't resist the hand motion. They're like, oh, he did the hand motion. My
Yes.
hands are tied.
Yeah.
He did the thing.
He did the thing.
We gotta pay him more.
Figured it out. Peace gift.
Peace.
Oh, those whole words are like a different language all to themselves. Like somebody's like, I don't understand a word he just said. And I'm like, no, he wants to go down the hall to the fridge and get some cheese. What part of that do you not understand?
I'm kind of like low-key excited to get to that point because like his nieces and nephews always be like, yeah, totally, bro. Like, what are we talking about? But they're like super enthusiastic, like talking to me, and like I'm just like caught in the dark, just like, sure. I heard the word draft.
Yeah.
I got that.
Words. Something
And cheese.
And cheese.
And cheese.
And obviously, you have a 5-year-old, so obviously she's like just spewing off everything she could possibly think of to say. I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, like the darndest things kids say. Like I was telling you about the time she was like talking about like taking a dead person and cutting out their blood and mixing it in the muffins. I was like, where does this come from? Like the first time she really said something creepy was like when she was like 2 or 3 and we were playing with Legos, which is super awesome. I got her in on that. But she takes this one guy and he's just got angry eyes. He's got a big grin on his face, you know. And she's like, he's the bad guy. And I was like, oh, why is he the bad guy? Because he collects his family in the basement.
You might
like, where do you...
Sound logic.
Yeah, you might want to write this down.
Yeah.
So that years from now, when she's got family in the basement,
You're like, it all strung from that 2-year-old
you
moment.
can know where it came from.
Yeah.
Did she watch Midsummer?
No.
Midsommar.
Oh, Somar.
I haven't even watched that. No.
I've only watched
Neither
a
have I.
breakdown because I love breakdowns of horror movies.
She watches children's Netflix and it makes me wonder what's on there.
What's on children's Netflix?
Yeah, what is on Children's Network?
Where does that come from?
H.H. Holmes. Everybody H.H. Holmes.
Yeah.
We're hanging out with H.H. Holmes
It's
in
like-
his murder house.
Murder House. It's like so happy. There's like, yeah, it's great.
Right?
There is that like vampire movie though. It's like made for kids. What's it called?
Castlevania.
Castlevania.
It's not made for kids.
Is it not?
It's not made for
Not
children.
even-
No.
Oh, there's another one. It's like a cartoon made for kids. Never
Oh, you
mind. I'll look it up.
You can look it up all you want.
Is
I
it
will.
like 3D
It's not
animated?
It is kind of like 3D animated.
It is 3D. Transylvania 1, 2, and 3.
That's what it is. Balmer wins. Ding 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 ding. You can't hear it, but I'm dinging.
Yeah.
I'm dinging.
I just imagine it. To me, you're an insane person just reacting to nothing.
I was like, wow. Wow. It happens. Yeah, but it's like
Same.
that one's all just like, oh, vampires and all this like kooky, creepy stuff. Like I have vivid memories. We had these like computer games we would play growing up, and it was like kindergarten through 6th grade, and like every year you would like get a new, you would graduate to the next CD to play.
Mm-hmm.
Grade 4 was like horror movie scary. It was, but like I'm sure if I look back and I'd be like, oh, it's kind of cute, like scary stuff. It's like there's a witch and you go to like witches school and they're like you like would make a cauldron, like do math with the cauldron and all this stuff, and there'd be like worms coming out of it, and I'm just like, I don't want to be in 4th grade. 4th grade's scary.
I think we only had kindergarten and 3rd grade.
3rd grade was
there was,
legit.
like, the,
what were those called? Oh man, I can't
Mailman
remember
is
anything.
come and he's on his way. What will the mailman bring you today? Boop, boop.
Wow,
That
you
was the
remember
kindergarten one, I think. And then 3rd grade
Let's see.
had like the lunch lab where you could like feed people the food they wanted. It was like an early version of those games where you have like an area and people are like ordering food and you have to like click the food that the people want. I remember those games. I know what you're talking about.
Jumpstart Adventures.
Yeah,
right?
Jumpstart.
Jumpstarts. All right, if anyone remembers Jumpstarts, like those were pretty cool. You're like, no, I don't remember that. But it was
My
good.
first
It
horror
was so
movie
good.
was House on Haunted Hill. Vincent Price.
Ooh.
I snuck up and stayed up and hid behind the couch to watch it.
Ooh, you a bad boy.
It was terrifying. That's a terrifying movie, especially when you're like 8 or 10 or whatever I was.
I've never seen that, so I guess
it was so terrifying. It's not even like it's not like jump scared or anything like that. Just like is actually like a guy like just like murdering people who live and who want to hang out in this house. And the whole thing is like people stay in this house, and if you can stay the night, then you win $1 million, or everybody splits $1 million who sticks around. And so it ends up being this thing where it's like, oh, who's gonna stick around?
Who's gonna do it?
But it's a haunted house, and so like the haunting of the house is like, oh.
So what's terrifying. The scariest movie you've seen, Bill?
Oh, the scariest movie I've seen? I don't know.
Or maybe how about the first one? The first one you ever.
The first one that I can remember was Demon Knight from Tales from the Crypt, because that was like their first attempt at actually making a scary movie. I remember like we were totally not supposed to watch it because it was actually like, even though it was Tales from the Crypt and they had the guy, at the beginning, but like it was actually like gruesome and stuff like that. And me and my buddy, we snuck off with a VHS to watch it.
Wow, bad boys. What you good?
And then I think Scream was around that time as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've never watched Scream. Literally, I think I avoided like almost all horror movies until I was like 14, and I went to a sleepover, and then all the girls wanted to watch this scary movie, and I was like, what the heck? It's supposed to be a girls' night. We're supposed to have fun and laugh and giggle and watch silly things and talk about boys. No, we're gonna watch a scary movie. I'm like, okay. So we watched The Grudge, and I'm just like, literally, like I'm like, I hear the like noise in my brain all the time. Look up in the closet, I'm like, there's probably a dead person right over there.
There's probably a dead person.
House is old enough.
Yeah, multi-generational house. Who knows what's up there? Anyway, so I never can watch horror movies ever again.
I think The Grudge was the first one I was scared of.
The first one you were scared of?
Yeah, was The Grudge, the American version.
Right? It was so freaky. Yeah. Like the imagery and all of that. You're just like, you can't get those images out of your head for a lifetime. It's just permanently singed there forever. Oh well. Yep. That's just life. Now we smile and laugh it off.
Now we smile and laugh it off. That's what we do. That's what we do.
All right, we ready for the next question?
Sure.
Yes.
The next Instagram question.
Yes.
What do you think people should know about the situation that most people aren't aware of?
Specifically, I'm assuming they're saying COVID-19.
Right.
Okay. Wearing the same pair of rubber gloves throughout your whole shopping trip is pointless. Don't bother. Just wash your hands. Seriously. Oh. Wearing gloves is to prevent cross-contamination from one surface to another. But if you're touching something with one pair of gloves and then you touch something else, it doesn't matter anymore. It's already a moot point because your hands are just as waterproof as gloves are. You're actually wasting a resource, to be honest.
That makes sense. Like, I kind of, honestly, I won't lie. I was one of those people that did that literally the first couple weeks of like COVID. But I had sanitized, so I'd sanitize the gloves. I don't even know if that was like pointless or not. But I was just like, I didn't want it to like ever touch my hands on accident or something like that. I'd be like, oh, I touched this box that had COVID on it and I didn't wash my hands well enough. So I'm probably going to get sick. But it's just kind of like those like illogical fears, you know. So but now I don't wear gloves anymore.
Yeah, well, the thing with gloves is they don't have a natural, self-sustaining system like our skin does. Our skin sweats and gets rid of stuff, whereas if you're wearing gloves, it's just retaining everything you're touching.
That makes sense. And then you're just like, I don't know, you touch your car door with the glove and it's like,
yeah, and then you take off one, that hand's fine, but then you take that hand and take off the other glove that's holding all the germs.
It's a hand glove combo, just like a magic trick. You're like,
you do this thing where you grab the lip and pull at the same time.
Yeah, you're like, wow, such magician.
In terms of like practicality, the biggest thing is you don't need to wear a mask when you're driving in your car or riding your bike. It doesn't matter. I see people doing it all the time. We saw somebody riding a bike downtown. We're not a dense city by any means, and they're just wearing their mask. You don't need to. In fact, you're probably making it harder on yourself because you're trying to breathe while biking.
Right? And you're like, I've thought about that, like going on a walk and stuff. Like, I'm gonna like wear my mask, and I was like, there's not that many people out here. I'm just gonna go for it. But like, if I go to the grocery store, I'll definitely wear it. Bill, you're literally calling out all of the bad things I've done. I would wear my mask in the car too, because I don't want to touch it, I guess, after getting in the car. So I just put it on before I get in the car and I drive with it on. So I'm like, oh, maybe if I touched it with my hands I know are clean, it'll be okay. And then if I touch dirty stuff in my car, it won't get on my mask because I already have my mask on. That was my bad mindset.
No, I would do that too because I'm mandated outside of work to wear masks even when I'm not on the clock. So if I'm shopping, I have to be wearing a mask. So say if I was driving by myself, I just have the mask on anyways because I'd rather not just take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on.
Kind of a hassle,
so
honestly.
Unless I was like, because my masks are thick and harder to breathe in, and when it gets like stifling, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
I've been a bad boy and didn't wear my mask a few times.
Yeah, I do the pull down. Like every time I'm in a car, I just pull it down.
Oh, under your chin.
Yep.
Yeah, like
you just do the under the nose thing.
I can.
My glasses are the worst when it comes to wearing a mask.
Yeah,
it's so awful.
I have to pull them like way down onto the tip of my nose so it doesn't fog.
We have a question from Tech also, and he says, let's see, how slim are my chances from getting COVID as a guy just sitting inside like 99% of the time? I think we all know that.
I need more factors than that. How many times do people come and touch your stuff?
That's true. What's the 1% doing?
Are you taking like the precautions of like when you order something off of Amazon and it gets to your door, are you opening the package outside and then wiping down the package to bring it in?
Or,
you know, because like
recycling
we were originally sorry.
Wow.
We were originally like full on like disinfecting cardboard boxes and bringing them in, but then I was like, that's dumb. Let's just cut the box open outside, leave it outside, and then disinfect the box that someone may have touched at the warehouse a couple days ago, which is, you know,
probably unlikely.
A couple days is probably not a lot of any virus sitting on it, right?
I think if you're hardly ever going anywhere, your chances are really slim. However, there is the factor to consider. This is not a disease of if it gets to my town, it's a matter of when it gets to my town. So what are the precautions you're taking before it gets there that you will have like in repetition that you just do naturally, like the whole mask and washing your hands thing? If it's not in your town, why bother? Why bother is because you need to make that a regular practice that you don't forget. So it's the same reason military people take their guns and flip them around. It's just second nature to them. You know, it's just like putting in your contacts in the morning. You don't even think about it, but you just do it.
Yeah, washing your hands habitually is actually really important.
I have taken on not touching my face as like a weird kind of challenge lately, where like I'll be in the car and I'll feel like my nose itch. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna itch it. No. I'm not gonna touch it. And then like also what a lot of this does, like when people are talking about this, when you'll hear Fauci talk about like what you know transmission is like, my brain is like, this isn't like a new type of disease. Like this type of disease exists. Like the coronavirus family. That's like your common cold, from what I understand. So like
SARS was a coronavirus.
Yeah, SARS is your coronavirus, and like any of these viruses, they're gonna get in. All of those times that I ever felt sick, was it because I touched my eyeball after touching something that was infected?
Probably.
I'm like, oh, I'll just not touch my face anymore. Now the only time I ever would get sick would be super rare and inconsistent. Now I'll never get sick again. I'll never touch my face.
You can't say that.
Yep.
What's he touching your mouth?
If there's one takeaway from this entire experience that the world is having, if people just still wash their hands more often after this whole thing is done, that's fine with me. You know,
100%.
Just wash your darn hands, seriously.
Like we were saying, like I want that hand washing requirement to leave the bathroom. Like you're stuck.
A bouncer at the door.
Stuck until you wash those hands.
Yep.
Or like a security guard just like watching the camera.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, you watch his hands. We got a code brown. And then like, they're like running around. Like
you get a sticker that says you washed your hands. If you don't have your sticker, you're a disgusting person.
Everyone hates you. Like, don't touch the things they touch.
It's because like the day of, you know, you go to vote, you get the sticker that says I voted. And anyone who's not wearing their sticker just gets totally like ragged on. Right? It's the same as you know, wash your hands.
I have literally left bathrooms before
and seen somebody like not wash their hands. I'm like, oh, that's gross. But I don't recognize them. I'm like, they don't belong to like the company.
Oh, where you work. Okay.
And I will follow them, and then they'll sit down for an interview, and I will like pull the guy aside and be like, hey, just real quick, don't touch that guy because they didn't wash their hands at all.
You never know.
You know, I want them to know, like, don't, because the end of it, historically, the end of an interview was like a handshake, right? And so you'd be like, just don't shake that hand. Don't do it.
No, since doing this job, I just noticed that also often. I'll be like in the bathroom, whether I'm at work or not, and it's somebody just comes straight from the stall out the door. I'm like, how do I get out? They touched that door.
Right? I think about that all the time.
All they have are the hand dryers with the air. There's nothing that I can like pull out.
Do you think that we'll get rid of the air dryers now because they've been shown like if you don't wash your hands properly, you're just like shooting up all the nasty particles in the air?
No, the companies who make those hand dryers are very good at propaganda. I mean, if they ran for office, they'd make you believe anything. The Dyson vacuum company makes these hand dryers that feel really nice because you stick them in and then it feels like air.
The air blades.
Yeah, air blades.
Yes, the air blades. People like that. They don't understand.
It's so
people
gross.
are just told this is good, but it doesn't really help with germs. It just blasts it everywhere.
Yeah.
I know. So I think
I
about
always
that all the
assumed that
time.
it just blasted germs everywhere, and I was like, you know what? It's making me stronger.
So I'm like, what do I do? Do I try to shake it
Somehow,
dry?
some way.
Or do I tap my pants? What do I do?
Yeah, tap your
Well,
pants.
the main thing is just
Lick
being
the
able to
hand
get
dryer.
out the door. Like if you're drying your hands off and they're dry, that's fine. But germs have been blasted on that handle.
Yeah,
That gets you out of the bathroom.
that's true. I always do like if there's paper towels, but sometimes there's not. If there's paper towels, I'll use it and throw it away. But like if in Japan, like paper towels are like not a thing.
They don't exist. You have to use your own hand towel, which is actually kind of nice. The fact that we have our own hand towels.
I mean, but then you put it in your pocket.
But you
Gross.
just washed your hands.
And then you touch the dirt. Oh, I was thinking of using it to grab the doorknob.
Oh, no. That's what shoes are for.
What if it's the pull handle?
The ninja foot.
You just bring your foot up. You just bring your foot up and you like hook it and pull and it works.
And then you like put your shoes back on. You like you put your foot back in the shoe.
No. You use the shoe.
No, you keep your shoe on. What are you, Katie? What are you doing?
What a monster are you?
She gets her toe and she's just like grabbing it.
No, you take your shoe off. You put a glove on your foot. Then you open the door.
Put the glove on your hand.
No, foot glove. Only foot glove.
Only a foot glove. Because then, I don't know. What if you accidentally touch your face right after? I don't put my feet to my face.
With your foot.
There's not sound logic behind it. I totally understand it, but you never know.
The logic is not sound. It is some
Flip-flop.
kind of logic, though. Foot gloves. They call those socks.
Oh, yeah, a sock is a foot glove.
A rubber sock.
What Steam says? Steam says, I just thought it was my hand. I got my hands dry. I never even knew it was to help keep germs away, even though it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Womp womp. Well.
Womp. Yeah, the air dryers are the same amount of like germ spreading as a sneeze from a person.
Oh, especially the accelerator hand dryers.
Yeah.
Those like jet engine ones are like, and they just like mash through.
your
The
skin
bacon
gets all-
dispensers.
Yeah. Just
Disgusting.
dispense bacon.
Have you ever? Does that soap?
Targets use those accelerators.
Yeah, it's true. Target does use those accelerators.
yeah.
It's like, I just want to go back to paper towels. I know it's like not as good for the environment. but,
Maybe
like,
if there were
I don't
paper
know.
towels made of hemp, it would be okay for the environment.
Ah, it sounds
Yeah.
expensive.
It
Doesn't
wouldn't
it?
be if we used it for like paper.
Hemp for paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it grows every year, whereas like paper trees, they have to like recite
Cycle.
like every like 2 years or something
Mhm.
like that in
All
order to get a
Yep.
regrowth. So you can grow more. It's more prevalent. It's just a stock. Like
Solved. What do we sign? Where's the petition? I'm ready for hemp paper. I'm all about it. I drink
It's
hemp milk
somewhere.
also.
yeah,
So that's weird. Like hemp milk,
I
hemp
used to have a
paper.
wallet made out of hemp.
it's a,
You do?
It's a crazy material.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Like you can make fabric paper,
You can
rubber,
make all kinds of
oil.
weird stuff out
Oil?
of it.
Yeah.
I never knew that. That's crazy. Do you want to show this jaw chewing thing, Blainer?
Oh, I don't
How
know
did
an easy way to do that.
I'm not sure how we can possibly do this.
I know. Hold on. All right,
Alright.
Bill. All
Are you familiar with the Jazzercise?
The Jazzercise, no.
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to pull up I'm trying to refresh the stream because
Hold on. I'm gonna
on my end. There it is.
I'm gonna send you. Oh, I need to share this with myself next time.
Oh, Steam thinks he knows it.
I'm gonna send you this link so that you can watch this, but you'll want to mute your side of things.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I hear it.
Oh.
It's thumping.
Uh-oh.
It does thump.
Bravo 6 going dark.
Blaine was I've seen this online before, and Blaine just keeps telling me that he keeps seeing it like
It's super
constantly.
weird, and I see it everywhere.
All right.
And it's like this
You ready to show
weird thing.
All right, we're gonna show a little video real quick.
It's a silicone chunk that these people chew.
Which one do we turn it on? Yeah, like
That
just looks so disturbing to me.
strengthens your jaw.
I'm gonna do it while running down the beach,
And they keep it around their neck like a pacifier.
so that maybe when you get tired, you don't like hold on to it. Like, look at this guy. Dude, he looks like he's straining so hard. He's like, ow.
Oh, ow, oh.
You could use it at the gym. People be like, what's up with your mouth,
chew
bro?
it, like, I get it. Like, maybe you don't want to bite your tongue, but you need to bite down. People are working out at the beach. Hey, it's that same lady with the blue and yellow.
Oh, wow,
Running.
If I saw someone doing that, like, anywhere, I would be like, aren't you
A
embarrassed to do it?
well-defined jawline. That's what they promise.
I think it just
Disease gets spread.
it will help you achieve a younger, healthier appearance. But I love their before and after photos.
It looks like them, but angrier.
I feel like
Looks like
the
a bug.
string. I feel like the string is just like so they don't choke on it. You just like retrieve it through the string. Like, ugh.
Anyway,
There's that.
so
Hopefully, Bill, you got to watch some of that.
so jaw.
You see a woman running down the beach chewing on that. What do you say to her? Stop that.
That's disgusting.
So my question, and the reason I brought this specific item in, was how many people, this kind of goes along with like an earlier question we had about like how many people ask you about like health questions in your everyday life. How many people bring you weird pop culture health advice where you're just like, what?
Like this weird trend.
Constantly. All the time. They're like, oh, you work in a hospital. Did you know that this treatment doesn't really do anything? And if you get some calamine lotion and put it under your eyelids, and then
Oh,
it's like, no.
I don't want to put anything under my eyelids.
Don't do that.
That sounds like the
I don't even remember what that was for.
Unless it's a tear.
Anything under your eyes, like except if it's like drops.
Is it
But
tears?
I've had people literally be like, oh, if you rub this thing that's non-reactive onto your skin, we make fun of the people who are literally like, you rub crystals on your skin, you wave them around in the air, and then you blow on it. People actually like that exist. Like,
you're like, but
I always forget
science.
that. Like, a large part of my YouTube diet is making fun of conspiracy theory and like, flat Earth and like crystal water
flat
people.
Earth.
Like a large part of my YouTube diet is making fun of those types of people. But I always have
Blaine.
to remember that there are actual people that believe that.
Yeah.
yep.
I mean, people believe a lot of stuff.
Some weird thing.
So, but do you also
But
think Jazzercise is a
Do you
good
believe
option?
jazzercising is a good idea?
Should we all?
I mean, chewing on jerky will give you the same thing. You probably get a better reward out of it.
Jerky chew.
And it's
I
delicious.
want to know how much that rubber chunk is they're chewing on.
Yeah,
How many
right?
bags of jerky can I get for that?
It looks like a the first time I saw it when they're like showing it off, when you're golfing, there's this weird little PVC ring that if you hit the ring, a clean hit will just make the ring spin and it just looks like a cylinder flying through the air. But if your swing is off at all, it'll kind of do a wobble to it. So you can kind of see what is your swing wobbling, or are you hitting things straight?
and it looked like that piece. And I thought they were like
they just,
chewy, like someone was just like, huh, and just started like chewing on this like golf trainer. And I was like, what are these people doing?
Like, why would you grab that from the golfing green?
I could see if people need a fixation. Those are like the same people who chew on their neck of their shirt or something.
Yeah.
It's $35. That's a mouth guard.
Yeah.
Why don't, but like they were saying earlier in the chat, Mommy was like, oh, what about gum? You know, like I guess it's not as much resistance though.
I guess.
If you have the same double bubble and keep adding to it over time.
Or do you just need do you need resistance or do you need reps? What do you need for health?
Ooh, I think it's resistance.
Are you going for shape or are you going for tone?
Wow.
Tone.
Here we go.
There it is.
Tone.
We found it. We found it. We found it.
The Minnesota accent.
Yeah. We now know where Bill is from, roughly.
What?
Big Lee Chew.
You said tone.
The tone.
Tone.
Oh, tone.
Are you going for size or are you going for tone?
Tone.
It was like a different person was saying that word.
Katie, they're making fun of my Minnesota.
What kind of soda is it?
Mini soda.
Oh man, I've been waiting.
When I worked at GameStop, we'd sometimes call stores in other locations just to get product shipment. Like if they weren't selling this product, we'd have to like ship it to us where it sells.
All right.
If I ever called the state that was like at least 2 states away, I'd turn on the Minnesota. I'd be like, oh, I see I got some Call of Duties out there. Could I get like a case of 60? That would be totally awesome.
Totally.
That's hilarious.
And they're like, yeah, that's kind of endearing. I like that accent.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I totally appreciate that.
Well, it's like Midwest and then Southern are thought of as like a more friendly accent.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like I forget what there's a weird map breakdown of like
different
a
sounds
survey
and stuff.
they did back in like the early 2000s that was like, what do you think about this voice? And so it was like, this voice sounds like a smart person. This voice sounds nice. This voice sounds mean. And so you have like a lot of it is super like stereotypical. Like New York just sounds mean,
aggressive,
right? You get that northeast New England accent is a very aggressive accent, very angry accent. The Midwest and the Southern are very nice, pleasant people, like by accent wise.
Yeah, like calm and chill.
We're in the like I forget what it is.
We see
it was either apathetic or
passive aggressive.
I forget what it was. No, California was the passive aggressive.
Oh,
I remember that.
Yeah. I think intelligent makes sense. Yeah, because like we have like Microsoft and all the Amazon.
People just assume that these companies that make money are a part of the whole area or whatever.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun.
All right, along with our other medical trend, telehealth. Have you seen any of this?
Or like
telehealth?
Yeah.
Like virtual visits or something like that?
Doctors, virtual visits, and as someone who has to clean the room, is that something you're thinking of as like, okay, as people want to spend more and more time like not in a hospital?
Yeah, not going there physically.
I mean, I had a checkup just a few days ago because I had to get a prescription filled that for some reason hasn't been filled. And so, they're doing the pre-screening questionnaire, you're going through it and then they're talking to you on the phone, the nurse, before you get to see your actual doctor. Mm-hmm. And they're like, do you have a way to check your own blood pressure? I was like, no. Of course not. Who do you think I am? It's like I'm okay, I guess, but
everyone should be able to check their blood pressure.
I mean, you can go to local Bartels.
Okay, but then you have to leave your house anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah. It's stuff like that people don't have access to that just kind of is funny to me. Like that question was just hilarious. But for like having questions for your doctor, like say you're seeing just a general practitioner, they look at your charts, they evaluate your situation, and you're like, oh, what medication should I do? Or this medication's bad, I need to switch to a different one. Those make sense. Where it's like, oh, I have this thing here, I need it looked at, and then they're getting up close to the camera and it just doesn't function the right way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, right. I can't see it physically, like
Your-
the 3D model.
Your Wi-Fi
Yeah.
is breaking up a bit. I think it's getting a little pixelated.
Yeah, right. They're
Yeah.
like,
Can you increase
zoom
your
in.
bit rate?
Yeah.
Here, call your internet company first and then call us back.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's interesting for like very small things, but it's just not the same. Like you can't, I don't know. When you go to a doctor, I just feel like you have like that, like you have their undivided attention. They're like physically there and they can check everything properly. Whereas like if you're at home, it's like, what
He's got
can
another
you really
tab
do?
open. You know that doctor has another tab open.
Oh,
Depending on the kind of doctor you have, I
You know
guess.
that. It was like, yep, all
They're
right.
gonna Google at
Yep.
WebMD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's check out WebMD real quick.
Yeah.
Looks like it could be
WebMD
cancer.
says you're dying.
Yeah. So come to the
Worst case
ER.
scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder how many doctors or practitioners, when they like answer the Zoom calls, it's just like the point of view is like the person from like down here doing the thing.
Just the underchin straight up.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, how you doing?
You can lose some weight.
wait, have you weighed yourself recently?
Uh,
Yeah.
I had a weird one. What kind of perks have you made use of with your job? Because like
With my job?
yeah, like being in a hospital, right? Like you've got access to things and people and where like somebody who were like, let's say someone just goes to the ER, they then have to talk to a doctor and that costs, $1,500. You're in the room and in the lobbies with these people. Have you ever made use of that in a way that was I don't
Like as a patient or as somebody, observing a situation?
as a coworker in the break room, like, hey doc, like I'm running into this, like
Something like
like we
that.
talked about how like other people bring you medical things, but have you ever made use of the fact that you're around these experts on a daily basis?
See, the thing is, working around a lot of medical experts, I can't really say this for like larger places like the Mayo Clinic down in Rochester, because that's just huge and there's so much staff. But for small towns like ours, everyone knows each other, and the doctors know who you are by name, by how you look and how you act and how you walk. If they notice something's wrong, they'll be like, hey, are you feeling all right? It's just like it's offered to you first, usually. And they probably won't notice if you're like, have a sickness going on that you're not exuding symptoms. It's until you actually feel something or have a sickness or something.
Yeah,
Like,
they wouldn't know about your hemorrhoids, for example, but
no, not unless you're grumpy.
Walking all funny.
oh, is it
Grumpy
hemorrhoid day,
face.
Bill?
I hate this.
Yeah, right? But it's really nice that they have like kind of a familial aspect, because you have that benefit of being in a small town. Maybe they know you more on a personal level, right? Because they can be like, oh, I know Bill or other, employees and whatever. Like, I know how they normally act. This isn't them. Like, let me help them.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah. No, we've just got a really cool community aside from that. Like, our hospital is small enough where, like I said, everyone knows each other, but we also like support each other in certain ways. For personal reasons, I had to take a huge chunk of work off. And my coworkers got together and paid my rent for me. That was like the coolest thing I've ever had happen. Like, my boss drives by and he's like, here's a receipt for your rent. We all paid for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to cry in front of my boss, but I'm about to.
I would.
Dude, when your boss shows up with rent
amazing.
paid for, you get a card to say you're allowed to cry. Like that's
Yeah, that's
That's
really sweet.
insane.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
that's incredible, even outside of like a medical industry or anything like that.
Yeah.
That goes kind of above me. I'm just trying to show that like you're in that sort of situation.
I love that.
Do you ever visit larger hospitals and see the way that they act and think like, oh, you know what, this is kind of cool and all that they're big, but like the fact that I've got this small hospital feel is like worth it 1,000 times over, or kind of
There is definitely a community difference, just how the culture is at certain hospitals. not only by size but also by location. I'm going to lose people here by mentioning towns, but in Bemidji, which is like an hour away, it's like a medium-sized hospital. So and they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's not a hospital for like 2 hours in any direction.
Okay.
So those are the most stressed out people you ever meet, because the ER people are used to putting up with like a lot of results of violence. We live in a mixed race community. Unfortunately, there is tension that comes in through there. And so like everyone in the ER just kind of has this front on that they're like just straight faced. And, whereas like if you come into small town where I am, oh, we haven't had a patient in like a day. You're here. I'm happy you're here, but you're hurt. Okay, let's take care of you.
Oh, that's so nice.
But then like you go to St. Cloud, which is like 2 hours away. It's like the exact middle of Minnesota almost. And that's a large place. It's not the largest, but it is pretty large. And you've got every culture from, it's a big college town. You got St. Cloud University there. So we have a lot of international students. And so just the way people approach healthcare even affects the way that they have to operate. So say like, I don't want to sound insensitive, so I just won't point out races. I'll just point out things I've noticed as kind of norms. Say if in this one culture, the wife is hurt, the husband will have to take her in and speak on her behalf. And so as an employee, parts of that training were actually being trained on recognizing the culture of the patient and who I am allowed to talk to. And so, and like even then, so there could even be a language barrier. We have a lot of Korean students who speak English to a degree, but there are things that get lost in the English to second language English translations, and so you have to be very, very specific. And so everyone there is just very professional. So you've got from where I am to the small town to the really, home caring attitude to the high stress of like the middle of nowhere hospital, to the big city where everyone has like all this training just because of the cultures they're just super, super professional about everything.
Right. That's like a whole nother level of stress. Like even just communicating with not in a high tense situation.
Yeah.
Like even at a restaurant for me, like sometimes it can be difficult to communicate with, like I'm communicating to the daughter, to the parents, trying to get things out, and it takes like, way longer to do it. But like to have it in those high tense emergency situations, everyone's already racing high and then you can't communicate properly. It's really hard.
Yeah. And even when I was at a frontline sales job, I had a client that was a good client, came back multiple times, him and his wife, and he was like super Orthodox Jewish. And I didn't know that like in Orthodox Judaism, the wife is like not allowed to do a lot. Like she came in to like buy a gun and all that. And so I was like trying to talk to her and stuff. But when I finished and closed the sale, and I was like, "Hey, thank you, sir," because he was doing a lot of talking. But I'm used to that in that position where like you go to a gun shop, a lot of the times the guy is like leading the conversation. He's like, "I'm a gun guy. I'm a gun man," and all that. And then like at the end, like closing the deal and going to shake his hand, going to shake her hand, and he was like, "If you shake her hand, I'll have to break you." And I was like, "Yeah, A, you're not gonna. But B, that's a weird thing. Tell me about this." And finding out that like that is a huge no in that culture. And so like,
there's a lot of nuances in all these different cultures. Like I can't even imagine like how to keep that all straight.
Well, and it's so weird to think about in like a simple context. Remember, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I won't. We're still clients. Like you're my client. I'm gonna help you out. But like if you're in a medical situation where it's like, we need to do this now.
Yeah, like I don't care if I can't.
And having to go through somebody else. Yeah, and you're having to go through somebody else in order to like communicate that. Like that. That kind of
asinine to me.
Well, it just makes so many of those little like interactions that I've had over the years with different people and different types. Just such a. What do you do then? What do you do here? What do you do there? And like that's a
you're able to see that from the position of like the ultimate, like, oh, this could, like, for example, is a life or death. You're in emergency for a reason. Like,
yeah, like, let's work
not everybody
together.
goes to emergency for the same reason Blaine goes to emergency, where he's like, he gets elbowed in basketball in middle school and has like a big gash on his inner cheek, and he's like, yeah, I need stitches, and they're like, well, you could sit and wait, and like the hospital near us here is like fairly high as far as like violent drug crimes go. And
That's
so
true.
I sat and waited for like 4 hours and was like, yeah, I'll suck it up and just deal with it. It's in my mouth. It's not like it's gonna make a scar that's too bad. And so I just like went home and like mashed some gauze in it, you know.
Yeah.
But like, I wasn't in a situation where I needed help. So needing help and then also having to deal with either societal or other, you know, different sort of people, like that's a rough way to kind of think.
But it's probably nice that maybe you don't have to deal with that as much in your like small town necessarily. So it's like, it's
kind of boring, I guess. I don't get a whole lot. We do get some stories, like, you know, usually the stories down there were more like, yeah, we do have an Ebola cart, but here's the best story. Okay, so we had this one woman come in and she was gluten-free. Now this is very important.
Okay.
She refused every medication because she's gluten-free. And so my coworker comes in to take care of her room. She's like, well, we need to take care of this and this, because if we don't, you know, the germs from this, whatever sickness she had would stay there and she would stay sick longer. And she's like, oh, you can't use those cleaning products. I'm gluten-free. And so we're like, these don't have gluten in them. Like, this is literally bleach. And she's like, no, I'm gluten-free. You cannot clean in here. I have to have my husband go get my gluten-free cleaning products. It's like, well, okay. And so he literally comes back with water that's like got a kiwi in it. It was
no, I don't believe that.
Because you know what makes things clean? Sticky fruit.
Yeah.
Aloe.
Like in our staff room, we had to put a giant note. Like, this is like, if you have a need to know basis board, we have it. It's like, we literally had to write this room number, no cleaning in here because she's gluten free.
And then everyone passing by is like, is this a joke? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. My coworker laughed first because she thought it was a joke. And she got yelled at. She's like, this isn't funny. I'm gluten free.
I mean, come on. That's kind of ridiculous.
Right
you gotta think, like, even if you've got a gluten intolerance, like your body actually rejects gluten and you have an allergy reaction, you have to ingest it. I can't just rub bread on, like, what, I'm gonna smack you with a bread and you're gonna like react.
But what if she had like a reaction, like where her throat closed up or something? Like, Bill, what do we do?
Does that happen? Is there respiratory gluten allergy?
I'm sure there is.
I don't know. That's just the weirdest thing. Like, we don't have gluten in anything we use.
Yeah.
Like, not for cleaning. Like, very little for our food products, because, you know, we're sensitive to that for our kitchen, but we're not gonna go down to the kitchen and grab food to clean with.
Who knows? That kiwi touched some bread. Who knows?
You're not wrong. Maybe that kiwi was bread kiwi.
Bread kiwi.
Oh, yeah. You never know what that hair will pick up.
I know, right?
Sweet.
Catch that gluten.
Goodness.
I know that's one of the things about like my job, though. I always get super paranoid because like people do have, like, especially in Seattle, everyone's very, oh, I'm this and I'm celiac and I'm all this. But actually, I get paranoid because like, what if you actually like have a bad reaction and it's my fault?
And depending on where you've worked in the past, like there's some of those where like someone could die, like peanut allergies or shellfish allergies or anything like that. Like, you've definitely worked in places where you've got these legitimate things.
It's true.
Anyway, where you're like, oh, if we do this, someone could die. Have you encountered any of that?
Where a person could die from
your legitimate like cleaners and stuff, as you're like trying to take care of infectious disease, you're also like, okay, well, we gotta take care of this disease, but this person has an allergy to
amoxicillin,
ammonia, or you know, whatever the cleaning agent may be.
Well, it just depends on really what Joint Commission or OSHA has to say. We'll use certain cleaning products that they have to approve, or they will push a product on us to use. For a while, we had to use strictly bleach to clean nearly everything. And then we started having patients just, especially ones with asthma, having a bad problem just being in the waiting room.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. With
I don't even have full asthma, and I get that.
So we had to recently switch out of that, but companies will come through pushing their products, and it's usually Clorox or 3M.
Oh, sure.
And it's always, the newest threat that they claim kills it, which they do. I'm not going to say they don't, but it's just air hazards. It's just like, this is bad may not be bad for you to breathe in, but it's very easy to choke on.
Exactly.
Yeah. I definitely would agree with that as far as a lot of stuff. I grew up with near asthma, at a nebulizer, and there's a lot of those things where the smell of it can just make me feel like I can't breathe. I can distinctly stand there and breathe just fine. There's not an actual physical problem, but it just makes me feel and react as though I couldn't. It's kind of weird to explain. Makes me feel
bad chemicals.
Yeah. I have an eye sensitivity to bleach, so that was kind of annoying. When I was with water, like onions. But I can touch the stuff all I want. My skin's very resistant to a lot of chemicals.
Right. Well, aren't you lucky, Bill?
Well, it's actually a problem. I'm actually very acidic. If you give me a piece of nickel and I'll hold on to it, it would disintegrate in a week. If I literally held it. Yeah.
I didn't know your skin could be acidic.
Are you an X-Man?
I bet
I could be.
Yes.
Just hold on to the bars of prison when I go to jail and just wait.
Someday.
But don't even move, because once you move, they'll be like, oh, there's less. No.
Yeah, but I'm a man of piercings, so I have to be careful with what I use. If I have my favorite earrings are, I don't think I have them, but they're these cloudy wolf heads with rings in their mouth. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, you know what I'm talking about. But those are my favorite earrings of all time. But the problem is they're nickel on the backs, so turns my ears green and itchy, so I just can't.
That's horrible. Mama Mare wants to ask, can you adjust the pH level in the hot tub? I'm assuming she means with your skin.
I probably could. I mean, there's things I can eat, certain teas that I can drink that would fix that. But the issue is they're made specifically for people with, skin acidity. And it's also a bad problem with teeth. I have to brush my teeth a little extra hard because my dad didn't realize he was acidic for a long time, and he wondered why he had normal teeth brushing habits like everyone else, but his teeth were just bad. It's because he was acidic.
I wonder,
so I have to be careful.
Am I acidic?
Maybe.
Now I'm wondering.
I know that I'm super alkaline. I know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Do we balance each other out?
When you touch each other, does it make salt?
It makes water. Makes pure, clean water.
Salt Bay heaven.
Salt Bay.
Wow. Honestly, I had no idea that people could be different pH levels. I don't know why I didn't know.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah, because we're made up of water, and water everywhere is either basic or acidic or completely at a level 7. So,
and we test our aquarium all the time. Why are we testing ourselves?
Yeah. Oh, let's just
because that was a big thing 3 years ago is buying alkaline water or specifically
balance your pH
water in a specific direction.
Maybe it's still good for you.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It might be. I don't know.
I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, it's just kind of ridiculous. It's kind of hard to explain to certain people. I had a dentist and I was like, I'm really acidic. I need to know what to do for my teeth. Every doctor or dentist I talked to thought I was acid refluxy.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, just, take this probiotic or drink some Pepto-Bismol once a day, you'll be just fine. I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
No.
Pepto once a day. Let's fix the problem, not just keep putting a mask on it.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Jeez.
Good night, Steve. Steam's going to go have his
night, Steam.
Thanks for hanging out, bro. Ham. All right. Do you have a question?
Yeah, our kind of final question, and then the follow-up. You can You can say whatever you'd like, but what, if any, anime are you watching right now?
Right now. Gotta know.
That's kind of in between because
What did you just finish?
a few people it kind of made the rounds again. Girls in Panzer came through my community. I finally watched the last movie after not being on it for so long. Honestly, some of the best tank action I've ever seen.
Isn't it
in
like surprisingly good?
It is. It's like people are like arguing what kind of genre it is, and I'm like, this is a high school sports genre. They're so passionate about what they do. It just happens to be tanks.
Steam gave us the biddies. That's a compound.
Excellent. A big old compost steam. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah,
But
and that happens all the time. Yupute, like I was saying last week or the week before, one of the best as far as like physical how guns work anime, but it's like a silly like slice of life high school anime.
yeah,
You know, they're just like, hey, this genre sells, and this is what I'm passionate about. Let me do this. And Girls in Panzer, same way. You're like, whoa, tanks! Tanks are awesome! I love tanks!
Nice.
it's so cool. Like just you just want to drive a tank afterwards. It's like you watch the basketball or volleyball sport ones. You're like, I want to play basketball.
Yeah,
Right.
But it is
This is like load up World of Tanks on your Xbox or PC. I'm playing that.
it's World of Tanks time, and then you get just owned because like that game is so complicated, and only people that are really good at tanks can play it.
Have you ever played the arcade game Tank? That's a good
Is that the
game.
wireframe one?
Or it's like it's literally
You're
a physical
in
arcade
like
game.
an arcade game, and every time you fire it, like you're like
I have played something like that. I don't know if it's that.
physically-
I played Battlezone back in the 90s at an arcade
Battle Zone.
no, not quite that.
where everything was just green wireframes and you're just driving around in this 3D environment.
No, this is like modern city, and like you're fighting against like a Godzilla
or
or
Mothra.
like
Ooh.
like an
That's
equivalent
super
large
cool.
monster, and then you work together as a team. But
Yeah.
the big thing is that the cockpit you're in physically moves, and it's usually like
Like
two
a-
or two.
Yeah.
They
So-
do like
No.
release type stuff.
The last thing I played that was a Jurassic Park one where you sat in like the cab of a Jeep and it would move around with the rail shooter that it was, and so you'd have your gun on the back of it until you go over a bump and it would do the thing, and your gun would just do that when you're shooting.
Like, rattle
Doing
all the
the
time.
thing.
Nice. Well, when you're up here in Seattle, we'll go to round one and we'll play Tank. And
Yes.
hopefully it won't be broken because it shakes so much
I
that
feel like
the shaky part breaks all the time. So
They're like,
it's usually
order.
like it's out of order, but you can still play it. It just won't shake.
Yeah.
That's
And you're
Just
like,
won't
that's
be
why
very
I
good.
play Tank. So the shake.
why they shook around
hmm
like a pop rock in a mouth. That's exactly how I feel.
All right, Bill.
Yeah.
We've been at it for 220.
Yeah.
What do you want to shout out?
Shout it out, baby.
Shout out people. Shout out
Channels.
a channel.
This is.
Shout
I don't
out.
know. I've been put on the spot.
Shout out a charity.
It's like, what do you?
Charity. that
charity?
support, or
Hire me for your merch. I'll totally do it. Like anybody, $5. I'll design you a shirt or hat.
Boom.
shirt or hat.
Done.
Design.
Yeah.
Get your designs by Bill. Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? Twitter, Instagram, Bill Onage, just like it is on Twitch, or if you're in the Discord at
Yeah,
Blaney
y'all.
Katie's.
The O is a zero. It's Bill 0 WNAG
3. Yeah.
3?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So at Bill
We'll type it down in the
0
description when it's on YouTube and stuff like that.
3.
It's very non-profesh. Sometimes I'll even say, yeah, whatever. This was fun to draw here, free. Take it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like a fun thing to do, and you're giving back to people, so it's awesome.
Yep.
Dude, what?
Definitely join the BK Adventure Guild on Discord. Follow Blaine and Katie on Twitter. On Instagram, it's Blaine and Katie Japan Guides. Follow them on YouTube at Blaine and Katie
Yes!
Totally not.
for the latest updates.
Totally not a mom.
Follow For the latest updates on Blaine and Katie streams when they go live, what they're planning to do, follow Bill Ownage on Twitter. Follow Blaine and Katie on Twitter.
Yeah, Bill's
so
usually
sweet.
more on top of our streams than we are.
I'm trying to get on Bill level. I'm like, I'm gonna put it
She's
at
not
1
quite
p.m. today.
She's not quite post-it note level, but she's getting there.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Bill's is the best. He's the best mod. We've had him ever since he started Twitch. We're super grateful for him. And like, seriously, thank you so much for like taking time to be with us, hang out. It was like super fun to actually get to converse and not just type at you or text through.
This is so much better.
To text or text to talk, whichever way it ends up going that day. Yeah, it was
Just stick me on chat. I'll just be muted the whole time, and then I'll just unmute to answer a question. It's like, stop saying that about Pokemon. That's not true. Let me fill you in.
Like, shh. Let me tell you the ways of Pokemon.
Yeah, look forward to Bill becoming our producer as far as these podcasts as they get more and more complicated. So we can move forward with that. Oh, food!
It's
from around
apple.
the screen.
Random
food.
apple pie, homemade, and ice cream.
Wow.
Apple pie and ice cream. What is this?
I have a wife also named Katie, just spelled differently, and she's super awesome.
Just hides behind the
She's
screen.
yeah.
Fresh homemade pie? Come on.
Yeah, I had a friend one time, he was just hanging out with us, and all of a sudden Katie brings cookies. He's like, it's so awesome being at the Eshelmans because you're just hanging out, having a good time, and all of a sudden cookies.
All of a sudden cookies.
Extra good time happens. I love
Right.
that.
Yeah. She's like the best mom.
Aw.
Like, just
She's like the house mom, the den
Shout
mom.
out to Katie.
We call
Come
that a
on.
den
Shout out,
mom.
Katie.
That's what we call that. Shout out to Katie.
Awesome. Well, this has
Anyway.
been super fun.
Super fantastic. We've done 2.5 hours.
We need to do a
Big
last
old
comp pie.
last
I think you're
comp pie.
empty, but we do empty comp pies too. It's okay. Cheers.
I know.
Last little bit.
The rest of you guys, thanks for joining us. Hope you guys have
Yeah.
a great rest of your evening. We'll be back here tomorrow. Woo!
Dark Souls!
Wait, we gotta do it.
The darkest souls that you could ever encounter.
The darkest of souls.
The darkest.
Be prepared.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Bye.